You know what the worst mistake in human history was?
For well over a decade now, feminist messaging has been a major component of Hollywood propaganda. In this video, I examine 12 movies that push feminist propaganda to an extreme degree. This video is structured in reverse chronological order, so we'll be starting with the most recent feminist atrocities against cinema. First up,
here comes the motherfucking bride.
That might end up the single worst line of dialogue of 2026, spoken in the opening scene of The Bride. That line is anachronistic, faux edgy, self-insistent, and horribly dated. Fourth wall breaking exclamations were a tired trope a decade ago. In fact, the entire movie is a good decade out of date. The Bride looks and sounds like an awards bait drama that an acolyte-hungry studio might have manufactured in 2017. The Bride is written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. According to Maggie, her movie is an attempt to give voice to the thoughts and feelings that Frankenstein author Mary Shelley was not able to express in the patriarchal hellscape of Georgian Britain.
What if Mary Shelley had a lot more to say? What if some of it had to do with being a woman? What if it was not only not publishable back then, but not even thinkable?
Put another way, The Bride is the movie that Mary Shelley would have written had she been alive today, and as talented and visionary as Maggie Gyllenhaal. The Bride exclamation mark is a $90 million arthouse student film. 2 hours of pretentious wank ejaculated onto a cinema screen by a wannabe auteur who is so far up her own arse that she now defecates from her mouth.
When I really became a director was actually, I think, the first time, the morning that Trump was first elected. I think I was like, I have a lot more to say than I've been saying.
Tell me what that means.
Well, actually,
That is depressing.
The cinematography in The Bride is wanky and pretentious, featuring constant unnecessary close-ups, distracting handheld camera, the use of black and white to distinguish the afterlife from the realm of the living, and even slow-motion action. Maggie does all of this because she is a brilliant auteur director. You are not a brilliant auteur director, so you wouldn't understand.
Tell me, what is the mise-en-scene of the film Jean Dielman? Name your favorite Bergman movie. Name your favorite Bresson movie.
The Bride also features anachronistic music. What is it with pretentious film and anachronistic music? Luca Guadagnino did the exact same thing in Queer when he has Nirvana playing over a conversation that takes place in the 1950s.
The queer bars here don't compare to the steep side queer joints. I mean, that is depressing.
The main character, Bride, spews out long, loud, incomprehensible monologues.
Stalemate. Amalgamate, imitate, decimate, transubstantiate.
These monologues are Maggie's subtle method of communicating that Bride is possessed by the ghost of Mary Shelley. This is a film studies freshman's idea of what a possessed character should look like. For a good example of a possessed character, watch Hereditary. Charlie is possessed by Paimon from the start of the movie, though this is never made explicit. There are interesting aspects of Charlie's possession for the viewer to consider. Has she always been possessed as a result of her grandmother's witchcraft? Does Paimon know he is possessing Charlie? Is Charlie's disability the result of the possession? Jack Torrance in The Shining is another brilliant example of how to do possession well, but there is one major problem with those characters. Writing them takes effort, so Maggie just has her possessed character scream bollocks into the camera every few minutes.
In my writing table, wrapped in a shroud, and believe me, I know what made it hot!
But even this more emphatic style of character possession can be done well. Being John Malkovich is a stellar example.
Craig, Schwartzy, are you in there?
How did you know it was me?
In The Bride, the possession scenes go on far too long. Maggie Gyllenhaal belabours the point far beyond the moment of audience disengagement. In fact, this seems to be a characteristic of her directing style, self-indulgence characterised by scenes that go on far too long. And by the way, fair play to Jessie Buckley, she is throwing everything she has at this role. The fact that the character comes off as a gender-swapped pound shop Jekyll and Hyde is entirely the fault of Maggie Gyllenhaal's used toilet paper script. Jessie Buckley's absurdly over-the-top performance is actually the best possible interpretation of the role. Though she is unable to make the character entertaining, no actress could, her antics do at least allow the movie to be unintentionally amusing at times. Jessie Buckley is an excellent actress. She deserved her Oscar for Hamnet, unlike some other performances that the Academy have anointed.
Yes, 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 yes.
No!
Christian Bale also does the best that could be expected of an actor inhabiting this lifeless imitation of Shelley's monster. Frankenstein's monster, who in this movie is called Frank, goes to Dr. Lady and says,
"Can I talk to a doctor?"
You are talking to a doctor.
Sorry, wrong movie.
Please, would it be possible to have an audience with the doctor?
Which doctor?
Dr. Euphronius.
I'm Euphronius, darling.
Dr. Lady makes Frank a bride, the new couple take off, and the movie turns into Bonnie and Clyde knockoff number 1818. A pair of detectives are on the deadly duo's trail. One of these detectives is a woman played by Penelope Cruz, despite the fact that this movie is set in the 1930s. But yeah, because feminism. The male detective breaks down in tears and gives up on the chase because he's a man, and men are evil. More on that later. So Penelope takes over because feminism. By the way, and more importantly than anything to do with the bride, was Tom Cruise breaking the code of bro when he stole Penelope Cruz from Jason Lee in Vanilla Sky? Look, I know one does not simply break the code of bro, but when she's that hot, I don't know, man. I mean, are you seriously going to tell me that if you were going out with peak Penelope Cruz, that your bro wouldn't nail that girl given half a chance? Of course he would. No, Tom did nothing wrong. If anything, his theft of Penelope was preemptive revenge for what Jason would do later in the movie. Also, the central question that Vanilla Sky revolves around, was Tom right to choose Penelope Cruz over Cameron Diaz? That is a question that man will ponder for eons to come, though I happen to know the answer. Mr. Reflection, what do you think?
I'm gay.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. By the way, Karen iPhone is absent this week due to her Ozempic addiction, so Mr. Reflection will be filling in for her. So at the end of The Bride, by the way, Vanilla Sky absolutely nails women in more ways than one. Cameron Diaz is obsessively in love with Tom Cruise. She pursues him loyally and lovingly, just so long as he treats her like shit.
I've come to wish you happy birthday.
Oh, man. I didn't invite you, Julie.
But the moment he finally tells her, "I love you," what does the bitch do? Oh fuck, women. Anyway, Vanilla Sky, great movie.
It was magical.
Oh yeah, what was I talking about? Oh, for fuck's sake, The Bride. So, I think the bride dies in the end, and I honestly cannot remember if Frank died. I watched this movie in cinema 2 months ago, and I can't remember the ending. Probably because I was dedicating 99% of my mental energy to remaining in my seat instead of walking out, which many people who went to see The Bride did. And no, Maggie, viewers didn't walk out because they were scandalized by your movie's radical political messages. No such message exists. The politics of The Bride is boilerplate feminism. Viewers walked out of the theatre because if they hadn't, they would have been bored to death so profoundly that even Dr. Frankenstein could not have resurrected them thereafter.
And I'm going to be honest, I fell asleep 3 different times throughout this film. I'm going to go ahead and tell you all that I didn't make it to the end of this film. I could not do it. I am not someone who walks out, but I could not take any more. Right. Now I'm going to rewatch The Bride at 1.6x speed and highlight some of the movie's more special moments. But don't worry, I will keep this review relatively brief. We do have a lot of detritus to rummage through over the course of this video. Mr. Reflection,
roll it.
Click.
At the 3-minute mark, Maggie does that rank trope in which a hack filmmaker strawmans her film's critics.
I just can't stand to see a woman do a man's job.
I'm calling this trope predictive strawmanning. Velma and She-Hulk did the same thing.
If there is one thing the internet agrees on, it's that you should never change anything ever. I hope you die. Sincerely, Velma. Well, at least Judy's still white.
Predictive strawmanning is lame. It indicates the filmmaker is more concerned about her own reputation than she is in the quality of the work she is supposed to be creating. The hypocrisy of the movie is also astounding. One of the central themes of The Bride is woman bursting free from the chains of oppression that society has bound her in. Maggie asserts
that I don't know if Mary Shelley got everything she wanted to say out with Frankenstein. You know, it's one of 5 books published that were written by women in the 19th century. So how did she have to censor herself in order to get that book published?
First of all, bollocks. Mary Shelley was not gagged by a patriarchal Georgian society, but more on that in a bit. And secondly, Maggie has just been given $90 million to make an original movie. And what does she do with that money? Makes a movie about how impossible it is for women to express themselves. Regarding Mary Shelley, she wrote 7 novels, 5 short story collections, 2 travel journals, 5 volumes of short story biographies, and many poems, articles, and reviews. She was a respected literary figure and worked with prominent researchers, writers, journalists, and publishers of her day. Maggie Gyllenhaal reduces a brilliant woman to a pathetic victim, crushed into a modern-day feminist narrative framework. Maggie Gyllenhaal openly brags that she regards Mary Shelley as nothing more than a useful political prop. The Bride is about as interested in a coherent plot as you are in Maggie Gyllenhaal's next project, but let's briefly go through some of the more major plot holes anyway. Mr. Reflection, bring that shit in.
That's why I'm here.
In the world's narrative of The Bride! The Frankenstein novel exists, but is actually a work of biographical non-fiction which describes the work of Dr. Frankenstein. How did Mary Shelley discover Frankenstein's work? If the scientific world has accepted Frankenstein's experiments were real, why have there not been extensive attempts to replicate Frankenstein's monster or pursue resurrection technology? The military applications alone would be extensive. Why has Frank waited 130 odd years to seek out a bride, and why doesn't he just marry a normal woman? I mean, the guy's a bit rough around the edges, sure, but bro, Tom Cruise looked worse in Vanilla Sky, and he managed to pull Cameron Diaz and Penelope Cruz. He did look like shit after the car crash, though. Why does Mary Shelley possess a random ass bint from Chicago? Why did Shelley wait until 80 years after her death to possess some random ass bint from Chicago? After Bride empoweringly murders a couple of cops and starts her Bonnie and Clyde rampage with Frank, why do women start dressing up like her and take to the streets to cause random chaos? Is the message here that women are brainless sheep whose behaviour is determined by passing fads? God damn. Based. Why are the police in this movie so astoundingly incompetent? They have many opportunities to shoot Bride dead, but she escapes on every occasion. Why is Jake Gyllenhaal here? Why didn't he stop his sister from doing this? Maggie Gyllenhaal decides to dabble in feminist literary criticism.
Dr. Frankenstein's got some sort of fetish.
The same people who assert that a literary character from a 208-year-old novel is fetishistic will also proudly write this into their made-for-the-modern audience filth. Frank and Bride shagging on the road while in the midst of an antisocial murder rampage. Bride gets rammed in a barn only minutes after she murdered a working stiff cop. The same woman who wrote that accuses Mary Shelley of writing fetish literature. Maggie Gyllenhaal decides to congratulate herself on her ability to use an online thesaurus.
Sublimate, consummate, checkmate.
You have an amazing vocabulary.
Frank and Bride go to a nightclub where a band who I'm calling the Tryhards are trying desperately to appear edgy. Sorry guys, the Smashing Pumpkins did it better 30 years ago. As with all feminist cinema, it is essential that a scene be included in which white men sexually assault a woman, since, as British advertising teaches us, white men are the only demographic that engage in this behaviour. So Bride gets groped on the dance floor, then two of her attackers follow her outside, where they attempt to, how should I put this on YouTube? Culturally enrich her in the manner of a Pakistani gentleman's club. So Frank kills the attackers, and he and Bride are fleeing. A photographer just happens to be standing ready to take their photo. Maybe the photographer is an influencer trying to get some photos for his Instagram. There's a shot of Bride's head trapped in a glass case. This is another brilliant piece of subtle visual symbolism by Maggie Gill. You see, Bride is trapped in a glass cage as a symbol of her being trapped by the patriarchy. But wait, there's more. It's glass, so the patriarchy can look at her because male gaze.
Yeah! Oh, it's so simple. Yet so brilliant.
Not long after Bride kills her first cop, Penelope Cruz deserves credit. She's in her 50s and still looks great. She's probably had work done, but she still looks like a human being. Compare that to Courtney Cox, who looked like a plastic doll in Scream 7, which was dreadful. That movie had the lamest killers in the entire franchise. Penelope Cruz and her sidekick go to a murder scene where the local chauvinist pigs make fun of a murder victim's looks because men bad.
Sounds like she got hit with the ugly stick.
She might have been hit with the ugly stick, but I doubt that's what killed her. After all, Maggie Gyllenhaal's still alive.
Mate, what did I do now?
Stop! Just stop, man!
Dude, fix your fucking face!
Come on, man, let's not sit here and pretend she wasn't absolute gear in Donnie Darko. Meanwhile, our boy Jake was a wee scrote. Now he's Chad Alpha, and she's, well, let's just say men age like Fight Club, and women age like Crash. Except Penelope Cruz, and Salma Hayek, and Shannon Elizabeth, but we'll get to that later. Bonnie and Bride go to a cinema where another white man is sexually harassing another woman, but Bride puts a stop to it.
Strangers on the street. Show us your head.
Sorry, wrong clip.
She said no, Eddie.
Bonnie and Bride go on the run again, and
by an astonishing coincidence,
they find themselves at a high society party attended by Frank's favourite actor, Jake Gyllenhaal. The Bride has a massive over-reliance on coincidence for its plot. Mary Shelley just happens to inhabit the body of the woman who will become Frank's bride. Frank just happens to seek out a bride the day after the possessed woman dies. The body he and Dr. Lady dig up just happens to be that woman. A photographer is conveniently standing with his camera at the ready to take Bonnie and Bride's picture, which makes them a national sensation. The detective duo arrive in New York on Bonnie and Bride's tail, and just happens to be across the street when Bride attacks the white male sexual assaulter at the theatre. Bonnie and Bride happen into the dinner party attended by Jake Gyllenhaal. The Bride fires a gunshot into the air in Niagara Falls, alerting the detectives to her location. The detectives who just happened to arrive in Niagara Falls only 2 minutes ago. All the detectives know is that Bonnie and Bride might be in the city, and they just happen to arrive near Bonnie and Bride's location the moment Bride fires a gunshot into the air. After Bride shoots one of the detectives and runs, Penelope figures they'll go to a movie theatre, and wouldn't you know it, she finds them at the first movie theatre she goes to. At the party, Bonnie and Bride do an atrociously pretentious dance number. If a feminist dance theory major was spit roasted by a pair of film studies freshmen, this scene would play on the ultrasound screen when she went to get a checkup on the resulting pregnancy. The Bride steals a cop's gun and starts waving it around. She holds Jake Gyllenhaal at gunpoint. There is a small army of cops with guns trained on her, and not one of them even attempts to put this bitch down. Bride runs through a list of crimes committed by the men present in the room.
Lupino's paying off the commissioner.
Murderer of women.
Yeah, no one saw you push her head down. Providence Hagen. Sad old saggy wife dead. Frances McBurn's hungry dead.
An armed supernatural character walking around a room detailing the secret sins of the men present. Now, where have I seen this scene before? Done better 27 years ago?
Mr. Burton, last year you cheated on your wife of 17 years 8 times.
You even had sex with her best friend while you were supposed to be home watching the kids.
And while we're on the topic, we may as well look at the Salma Hayek scene from that movie. Outstanding. I doubt Maggie Gyllenhaal deliberately ripped off the scene from Dogma. She's simply that unoriginal. No matter what she does, somebody else did it far better, probably decades before.
What have I done?
What have I done?
Also, Bride's murder of the cop ignites a feminist revolt across the country. The privileged women of America rise up to combat the highest living standards and most robust political freedoms for women in the world. Look at this sow. It's the middle of the Great Depression. Many Americans go to bed hungry, but this meat balloon certainly isn't struggling to pay for those KFC big buckets. What has she got to protest about? McDonald's refusal to serve her a McMorning at 2 p.m. after a night of partying with the girls? Did you know that Hitler's girlfriend Eva Braun protested one Reich law in their history together? She flew into a fury and complained to Adolf after Germany banned women's beauty products to save vital resources during the war. The ban was lifted the next day. 3 million men-at-arms couldn't stop the Fuhrer in 1940, but one nagging bitch got him to back down. By the way, the woman's revolt lasts literally a few seconds. The movie opens this plot thread, then completely abandons it. The next scene opens another abandoned plot thread. A mafia boss kills some guy, I forget why, then sends a hitman after Bonnie and Bride. The hitman shows up briefly in the finale, but otherwise has no impact on the nominal plot. The anachronistic dialogue in this movie is insufferable.
She was pointing her gun at a police officer.
She wasn't trying to kill anyone. She was just talking. She was talking. You disrupt the status quo and they are fucking on you.
A 2016 Redditism shoved into the mouth of a 1930s cop in an indication of how profoundly historically illiterate Maggie Gyllenhaal is. The cop makes reference to space travel.
A lady astronaut or a lady brain surgeon.
Or a lady detective.
Bonnie and Bride gets stopped by a cop and, shockingly, he is a sexual predator. An evil, sexually predatory white male cop stopping a lady, pushing her up against the car and feeling her up in front of her husband. Now, where have I seen this exact scene more than 2 decades ago?
Now, do you have any guns or knives or anything I might get stuck with?
I'm wearing a cocktail dress. What do you think?
Be surprised some of the places I found weapons.
So Bonnie and Bride murder a cop and his partner. At this stage of the movie, Bride has murdered 3 or 4 cops, I've lost count, and Bride even eats one of the cops a little. So naturally, a whimpering man shows up to explain that none of this is her fault, and he is the one society should hate.
This is my fault, and I'm sick from it. I'm a fucking coward.
Come on, Penny.
And I'm so sorry.
Because he's a man, so he's bad. But also, Bride is a woman, and when a woman goes on a murder spree over the course of which she murders random police officers and eats one of them...
That means that it is not illegal.
So anyway, Bride righteously shoots this man and runs off. The movie explains that it's good that she shot him because...
You slept with her.
Maggie, you do understand that having sex with a woman, even in a professionally unethical context, is not valid grounds for murder. Everyone who doesn't have a Reddit profile thinks Bride is in the wrong here. Anyway, the cop is an evil, pathetic man, so he expresses regret that he wasn't righteously executed for the crime of engaging in consensual sex with a woman, then starts crying.
Bad news. I'm resigning.
So it turns out Frank does die in the end. The cops shoot him in the head at a drive-in movie theatre. The character of Mary Shelley in The Bride is a physical manifestation of feminism. Shelley repeatedly criticises Bride throughout the movie because Bride is not sufficiently enraged by her enslavement at the hands of the patriarchy. She actually reminds me of Palpatine.
Where's your fight, girl? Where's your rage?
Give in to your anger.
It is only after Bride becomes a serial killer, gets Frank killed, divests herself from all connection with society, and self-actualizes as a completely isolated, atomized individual that feminism finally gives her approval to Bride.
Just the bride. Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Good.
Not the Bride of Frankenstein. The Bride.
Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth
Vader.
Bride takes Frank to Dr. Lady so Lady will revive Frank. The cops catch up to them at Dr. Lady's surgery, and in the movie's only genuinely enjoyable moment, the bride gets wasted. You know what? Let's take a little break and enjoy this moment together. Then sexism.
Where's the detective?
You are looking at her.
Then the movie ends with Maggie Gyllenhaal's claim that The Bride! Is not only the greatest movie ever made, but the greatest story ever told.
Never was there a tale so fine as that of The Bride.
And, impressively, that is merely the second worst aged statement of 2026. The bottom spot goes to...
It's fine. Like, when we make little movies, it starts to get dangerous when women have their hands on a lot of money.
The final shot of The Bride! Teases a possible sequel, because this movie is surely going to be a smash hit. So how did The Bride perform at the box office? On a $90 million production budget and $65 million marketing budget, The Bride! Made $24 million at the box office. Keep in mind, the studio only gets half the box office, so Warner spent $155 million on The Bride! And got back $12 million. The Bride! Is a monstrosity, Frankensteined into being from putrefying fragments of various dead creatures, modern feminism, art house cliches, and Maggie Gyllenhaal's career. We may one day conquer death through the power of resurrection, but after a box office catastrophe as disastrous as The Bride, Maggie Gyllenhaal's directing career is definitively dead.
Never was there a story so exhaustingly shite as Maggie Gill's box office bomb, The Bride.
Send Help is a survival horror movie directed by Sam Raimi, released in January 2026. Fundamentally, Send Help is a male humiliation ritual. In terms of plot, this is Castaway meets Misery. Our hero, Linda, is a survivalism enthusiast who works for Generic Corporation. The CEO of Generic Corporation is a nepo baby called Bradley, who inherited the company from his father. Bradley is an asshole who tries to elicit sexual favors from job seekers.
My final question would be, how above and beyond would you be willing to go for me?
Linda has worked at Generic Corporation for 7 years and is expecting a promotion to vice president, but is passed over in favour of Paul Allen, who has only worked there for 6 months. Paul Allen is Bradley's fraternity brother, hence the promotion. Bradley brings Linda along to a big company deal in Thailand, but the plane crashes near the coast. Everyone dies except Linda and Bradley. Linda saves Bradley's life and uses her survival skills to thrive on the island, while Bradley, who is crippled from the crash, lies around begging and bitching. Despite being in no position to wield authority, Bradley tries to alpha dog Linda.
Watch how you speak to me, all right? You work for me.
So Linda leaves him to rot for a couple of days, which puts him firmly in his place. This leads to the first humiliation ritual in which Bradley must kowtow to Linda's supremacy of the island.
We're not in the office anymore, Bradley. Okay?
While Bradley is suffering without a woman to keep him safe, Linda sees a possible search party boat on the other side of the island, but she does not alert them because she's having too good a time cosplaying at survival. Bradley tries to break away from his dependence on Linda by setting up his own camp, but fails miserably. He can't forage, he can't build anything, and he begins to starve. He goes crawling back to Linda and grovels before her in the second male humiliation ritual of the movie.
Linda, please.
Bradley poisons Linda with wild berries, and while she is convulsing, he tries to escape on a raft he has built. The victory of man seems assured.
Fuck you, Linda! But the third wave tears his crappy raft to pieces and he almost drowns in the drink. Evidently he can't swim, so Linda saves him for the second time. This leads to Bradley's third humiliation ritual. Linda paralyzes him with squid venom, sharpens her knife, then castrates him.
No, don't be a baby. You're not gonna miss this stuff. We got a bleeder here. That's a lot of blood.
It's okay. Just a rat.
Next time it won't be a rat.
Well, not literally, but psychologically, she puts him in his place, beneath her, where he belongs. Bradley's fiancée shows up to the island looking for her beloved, so Linda murders her and her guide, but it's okay because she feels kind of bad about it afterward. Not long after, Bradley discovers his fiancée's corpse. He confronts Linda and they engage in jungle combat. Linda wins, obviously. Bradley flees to the far side of the island, where he discovers the boat that his fiancée arrived on and a beachfront mansion. It is revealed that Linda discovered the mansion shortly after arriving on the island, but kept it a secret from Bradley because she enjoyed lording over him. Bradley enters the mansion, Linda follows, reveals her treachery, then holds a shotgun on Bradley, which leads to his fourth humiliation ritual of the movie.
Please, you were right. Okay, I was a piece of shit. I was a monster!
Once again, he is forced to beg. Now, obviously, he's lying to lure Linda into a false sense of security. He springs his trap, but is ultimately too weak to overcome Linda, and Linda beats him to death with a golf club. Cut to a year later, Linda is a successful celebrity and best-selling author. A fashionable-looking journalist congratulates Linda on being awesome. Linda tells the female viewers that no one is coming to save you from the patriarchy. You must save yourself.
No help is coming. So you better start saving yourself.
Linda drives away in an expensive car. In the final shot, she glares down the camera, daring you to criticize her. She spits on the so-called morals that your patriarchal systems of oppression have constructed to keep women down. She has ascended. She is above your supposed morals. Thus ends this empowering tale of female empowerment. The moral of Send Help is that murder is fine as long as it's done in the name of female empowerment. And anyway, Bradley deserved to be murdered because he's a rich white man. The murder of a black woman, while usually incorrect in all circumstances, can actually be excused here. You see, fiancée must be punished for her submission to a man. She is so brainwashed by the patriarchy that she kept searching for her man, even when all hope seemed lost. So naturally, the guy doesn't count, by the way. He's just a servant or a migrant or something. The filmmakers want you to think of Bradley as corporate evil incarnate, but he was right not to hire Linda as vice president because, as he points out, her people skills are abysmal. He would be promoting her to her level of incompetence, and it seems that he is a fairly good judge of character, since he seemed to pick up on the fact that there was something off about Linda, and it turned out she's a total psychopath. Also, Paul Allen has a better business card. The feminist ideal presented at the end of Send Help is a life of luxury, high status, and public adoration, and most importantly, atomization. She needs no man. Early in the movie, Linda expresses sexual interest in Bradley.
He's good looking, and he's single, and charming, and blah, blah, blah. And I told you how flirty he was with me at the Christmas party.
Only by murdering her last object of romantic desire is Linda able to self-actualize into her higher self. Despite having a simple plot and only 2 lead characters, Send Help is torn to shreds with movie-breaking plot holes. Mr. Reflection?
For marginalized people, a lot of energy is devoted to justifying your existence.
Yes, we'll get to that later, Mr. Reflection. Just bring the shit in.
Why did Bradley never attempt to start a signal fire? He raises the issue with Linda, yet after his leg has healed, he chooses to build a raft without first attempting to create a signal fire? Why did not a single search plane fly over the island throughout the movie? Why did Bradley bother knocking Linda out before trying to escape on the raft? He could simply tell her, Linda, I'm building a raft to get off this rock. You can help me, or you can stay here. Why the deception? Why is the knife treated like a weapon of command? One so powerful that the wielder is the unspoken master of the island. It's a kitchen knife. A handmade stone axe would be a far superior weapon, as would a short spear. Why have the authorities not investigated the disappearance of Bradley's fiancée and the fishing boat pilot? The authorities could track their phones and determine that the island was their last known location. They arrived at the island on a small fishing boat during daylight. Since they would not have sailed off from the mainland before daybreak, this means that the mainland is only a few hours away by small boat. Locals in the area know that the fiancée is looking for her missing CEO husband-to-be. Media are probably also present covering the story. Within a day of going missing, other boats would arrive on the island looking for the fiancée and her guide, but no one shows up. Linda's guide is an experienced sailor. He would bring communications equipment with him to check in at port every few hours and to signal for help when he found the survivors. After several failed check-ins, a rescue boat would be sent to his location. Why does this not happen? How did Linda explain her inability to locate the billionaire's retreat after she got off the island? How is it even possible that she's competent enough to survive for months on a tropical island and build an ocean-faring raft, but she never thought to circumnavigate a tiny island? These are questions that people will ask her when she returns to civilization. We have already established that the island is only a few hours from the mainland. As soon as Linda is found or arrives on the mainland, dozens of reporters and wannabe influencers will begin scouring the islands in the area, and they will find her camp. In fact, the eagle-eyed among these reporters may find evidence that there was more than one person at that camp. People with forensic experience will certainly pick up on the murder scene in the mansion. Even if Linda has attempted to cover it up, Linda is a survival expert, not a forensic expert, and she would struggle to cover her tracks completely, particularly in the mansion. Anyone who cared to interview the mansion caretakers would learn that the caretakers never saw any smoke signals, which would cause people to ask why Linda never sent out a smoke signal. Even if Linda lied and said she did send up smoke signals, this could actually be checked. People could look at satellite images taken from the day the plane went down to when Linda was rescued, and not a single satellite image would show any smoke signals coming from the island. Some of the CGI in Send Help is atrocious. Here's just one example. Send Help wants to present a feminist strawman to the audience to create a scenario in which an impossibly brilliant woman overcomes an impossibly stupid man, usurps man's place as master of the wild, puts him in his place, humiliates him, murders him, then rides off into the sunset, daring you to object. The coherence of the plot is a distant consideration. All of this happens on Schrodinger's island, where Linda is simultaneously a victim of her patriarchal corporate asshole boss and an empowered girl boss survival expert. Send Help thinks of itself as a clever piece of social commentary which flips the male-female dynamic on its head. In reality, the movie is viciously misandrist garbage which delights in male humiliation and celebrates female avarice. We could play the "if the genders were reversed" game for every movie in this video, but we'll play just this once to keep this video to a sane length. I need to teach you your place, Linda. You need to learn to cooperate with me. Do you know what FGM is, Linda? It's widely practiced in Somalia and the UK. A portion of the female organ is removed. The thinking is that this tames the woman. Now don't worry, this won't kill you. Well, would you look at that? It's just a rat. It won't be a rat next time, Linda. If a movie featured that scene, it would be decried by every mainstream outlet as vile, misogynist propaganda, hate porn for incels. There would be fake outrage all over the internet. But when it's a woman torturing a man with a fake-out castration?
That means that it is not illegal.
Critics gave Send Help 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audiences were only slightly less generous. The movie did decent at the box office, $94 million on a $40 million budget. Now, I could examine the scene-for-scene details of Send Help, go over the endless tropes, nerdy goody two-shoes gets pushed to the brink, evil frat boys, much more on that trope later in the video. But instead, I want to finish this section of the video with a few excerpts from The Island with Bear Grylls Season 2. Enjoy.
2 uninhabited Pacific islands. More than 5,000 miles from the UK. One will be inhabited by 14 British men, while a separate island will be home to 14 British women.
We have nothing to drink. We don't know where we are. We're winning.
She goes on about those potatoes anymore. I'm just stubborn.
This is the male version.
I feel dreadful. Honestly, I feel absolutely dreadful. I never thought I would be so desperate for food and water.
The water was not an issue. Yeah. And actually dehydration was your own fault rather than lack of water.
The expedition party are dehydrated, hopelessly lost, and wandering directionless.
Walking is painful now.
The women have now been without water for more than 48 hours, and they are dangerously dehydrated. Their situation is now beyond critical. Medical advice is that the castaways are now so critically dehydrated that within a few hours, their lives will genuinely be in danger. So really, I've got no choice but to intervene. And the women will be given a working bow drill set.
No dry clothes and no fire, because we have to make mistakes.
A huge fucking snake came towards me.
We just caught a prehistoric animal.
Call the medics! She's Bran! Bran's fainted!
We're winning.
It's 2:30 now. No sign of a fire.
We're winning.
1, 2, 3. Send help, for the love of God, somebody send help to Sam Raimi. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is a tiny budget awards-bait drama by A24 released in 2025. The movie was written and directed by Mary Bronstein. She wrote the script for the movie as a means of processing the trauma of taking care of her severely ill 7-year-old daughter. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is about a mother struggling to take care of her sick daughter while also struggling to deal with her marital problems, her living situation and her own mental health. As you probably guessed from the plot description, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is absolutely miserable. The film is a 2-hour torrent of unremitting misery. I want to waste as little breath as possible on this misery fest. So instead of referring to the film by its pretentious 7-syllable name, I will use the acronym ILLICY. ILLICY has extremely dark themes. I want to really emphasize how brutally grim the themes are, so I will be imagining the themes as sticky notes that Mary Bronstein stuck to her wall to keep herself on task while she was writing the script. And fair warning, these themes are truly horrifying. So if at any point you feel like today's breakfast might make a surprise comeback, feel free to skip ahead to the next review using the timestamps. Illicky's theme notes read as follows. I fantasize about murdering my child. Children are burdens to their mother. I wasn't supposed to be a mother. I regret not having an abortion. Everyone is against me. Nothing helps. Let's go through those themes one by one. I fantasize about murdering my child. There are 5 scenes in Illicky which communicate this theme. The first is a TV news broadcast that mom watches. On the TV, a nanny is sentenced to life without parole for the murder of 2 children. In another scene, mom watches a horror movie in which a mother eats her toddler, then turns toward the camera, her face covered in blood. The third scene infused with the I want to murder my child theme is the hamster scene. Mom buys a hamster for her daughter. The hamster is an immediate nuisance. It bites Mom, makes ear-piercing screeching noises, and behaves in a rabid manner. Mom stops her car to try to deal with the rabid beast, and some asshole rear-ends her. During the ensuing argument, the hamster escapes its box, runs onto the road, and is run over by a passing car. Mom is shocked, but also clearly relieved. The hamster in this scene is a metaphor for her daughter. The scene is probably an allegory for a fantasy that Mary Bronstein had while she was taking care of her sick daughter.
You know, I didn't do the things that Linda does in the film to escape. A lot of that is fantasy fulfillment.
Later in the movie, Mom watches a video of a police interview with a murderess who committed family annihilation. The theme of rodent death is continued in another scene in which Mom's therapist, Conan O'Brien, ponders the tragic necessity of killing rats for science.
And we were testing the efficacy of a drug on rats. And we'd drop them in this guillotine thingy, chop their heads off, peel the skin back, and then look at their brains under a microscope.
Yes, I know. Watching Conan O'Brien talk about murdering rats was not on my bingo card for 2026 either. This is such a bizarre scene that I can only make an informed guess as to its meaning. Later in the movie, Mom made a confession to Conan.
I took a pregnancy test and then just went to a random clinic the next day. I got the surgical kind with the vacuum thing.
By this point, the movie has already established rodent death as a metaphor for child death. So I think Conan's lab of horrors is a metaphor for an abortion clinic. The point of Conan's story is that killing rats is a necessary evil of medical science. The rats die, but humans get better medicine as a result. The metaphorical message of his story is that abortion is a necessary evil. Babies are slaughtered, but the result is that women don't have to suffer the misery of motherhood. It's certainly a morally confused message, but hey, that's feminism. On the topic of abortion, the clip I showed earlier of Mom regretting her abortion,
I'd have a kid in college by now if I hadn't done
is actually incomplete. Yes, she regrets the abortion, but she also regrets something else.
Maybe I got rid of the wrong one.
So, she regrets aborting her baby, but her real regret is not aborting her sick daughter. It doesn't seem to occur to her that she could simply not have aborted either baby, and that way, she would have 2 children. Again, confused themes, but then feminists are not known for their clear, logical thinking. For an examination of a truly paradoxical mess of self-contradictory themes, watch my review of Barbie. Fun fact, the director of Barbie, Greta Gerwig, starred in Mary Bronstein's first movie, Yeast. The theme of children as burdens to their mothers is present from start to finish. Illicky is basically Children Are Burdens, the movie. Bronstein chooses not to show the daughter's face at all until the final frame. This decouples the child from personhood and ensures that the viewer perceives the sick little girl as the movie wants you to perceive her, a constant burden, a source of stress, worry, and irritating noise. Clearly worried that the theme of children as burdens wasn't sufficiently clear, Bronstein adds a subplot to emphasize the point. Mom is a therapist. One of her patients is Manic Mommy. Manic Mommy has an infant son who she is pathologically worried about. The stress of constantly worrying about her baby causes Manic Mommy to seek therapy. During one of the therapy sessions, Manic Mommy goes out to use the toilet and never comes back. She abandons her baby, who was causing her so much stress. Manic Mommy later explains her actions thusly.
They look at us and there is nothing there.
Then, just to add a little dark edge to this breezy romp, Manic Mommy slaps Mom and runs off. Now let's examine the theme Everyone is Against Me. Mom's husband, Christian Slater, is a ship captain, so he is off for 8 weeks working, useless bastard. He even has the cheek to attempt to enjoy life while he's off working.
Yeah, Dad, I'm catching a game.
That must be nice, huh? Doing things yourself. What's that like?
Mom's flat is destroyed by a water leak, but the asshole landlord refuses to do anything about it. The asshole car manager makes Mom's life harder by hassling her every time she pulls up to her daughter's clinic. The girl behind the counter at the motel is a bitch. The doctor looking after Mom's daughter is a pushy Karen who uses threats to get her way. Dr. Karen is played by the director, Mary Bronstein, and she's good. She does the Karen scowl perfectly. Mom's therapist, Conan O'Brien, is about as much help as a cotton candy dildo, and eventually refuses to continue seeing her. The only person in Illicky who even attempts to help Mom is a black man who lives next door to her at the motel. The black man is played by a rapper who calls himself $App Rocky. A buys some online drugs with Mom, who has a substance abuse problem. She uses alcohol and drugs to cope with the stress of her burden. I mean, her sick daughter. A goes to Mom's apartment to have a look at the holes created by the water leak, but falls into the hole on the floor and breaks his leg. Mom runs off, leaving A alone in agony. A is understandably upset about this. It is insinuated that A motivations for helping Mom are entirely selfish. He wants to have sex with her, and he wants her to pay for drugs. Dad returns at the end and fixes the apartment. He wants to see his daughter and is not happy when he finds out that Mom has removed the feeding tube from their daughter. So Mom runs into the ocean, possibly in an attempt to kill herself. Her family run to her, and Mom realizes that she too is sick. Mom may not have drowned in the ocean, but anyone subjected to Illicky was drowned in an ocean of misery and boredom. There is not a single ray of light in this movie. The frames are claustrophobic. The camera is probing and intrusive, shoving constant close-ups down the viewer's throat. Everyone is an asshole to everyone. The mother does not smile genuinely once in the movie. She does a few ironic, "Are you fucking kidding me?" type smiles, but not one genuine smile. Illicky is a boring drag from start to finish. Absolutely nothing happens in it. A woman lives out her sad, depressing, self-sabotaging, stressful life for a few weeks. Then the movie ends with her crashing out. I despised Illicky within 30 seconds of watching it. From the opening scene, it is pretentious to an obnoxious degree. The first shot is a frame of the mother's stress-ridden face. This shot holds for 3 minutes while the frame slowly zooms in. This is an example of a director using a sledgehammer to crack a walnut, of placing theme and message above all other considerations. Cinematography, context, production design, establishing shots, character intros, everything. All the basic rules of filmmaking. To hell with all of them, because I'm an artiste and my themes is more important than creating a movie that people might actually be able to sit through. And love, you're not even an artiste. You're not doing anything striking or original. Opening your movie with a lingering interrogative close-up holding shot is trite. Bradley Cooper used this exact same opening in Maestro, one of the worst movies of this decade and one of the worst biopics ever made. The opening scene of Illicky also contains a line so atrocious that I feel compelled to respond to it.
Perception is reality, so...
That is relativist, Marxist pop psychology bollocks. To demonstrate the wrongness of that assertion, here is a brief anecdote from my 20s. I went to Hongdae, a student nightlife area of Seoul, got hammered, picked up a supermodel, took her back to my place. The next morning, I woke up next to a beached whale with a face like a cow's arse. Perception is not reality. Reality is reality. Apart from being soul-crushingly boring and a black hole of despair, Illicky's biggest problem is that the movie is far too much about the mother and not enough about the daughter. It reminds me of a meme that has recently become very popular. Men showing an object versus women showing an object. Here's a recent example of this meme from the latest Trump shooting, assuming they don't try to kill the guy again before this video goes up. A female journalist filming the ongoing incident by pointing the camera at herself. A female director makes a movie about her sick, suffering child, and what does she do? Makes it all about herself. She makes it so completely about herself that she doesn't even show the child's face until the very end. And yes, I know I can already hear the midwits typing in the comments section. My themes, I just don't get it because media literacy, etc. To highlight my point in meme form, here is a brief comic clip. My child's suffering has inspired me to make a movie. Cool, so what's the movie about? Me. Illicky is a perfect demonstration of the Emperor's New Clothes effect. The film is atrociously bad, but critics pretend to like it because of the strong feminist themes, and they shower it with awards because they don't want to be thought of as Philistines by their peers. Illicky received 46 award nominations, including a nomination for Best Actress at the Oscars, and 16 wins, including a Golden Globe. That is an excellent haul for such a low-budget film. Illicky cost a measly $1.5 million. Astoundingly, despite all the awards and the tiny budget, Illicky still managed to flop. The film made $1.7 million at the box office. A24 didn't give a shit, of course. They were laughing all the way to the award ceremonies. Less than $1 million in losses for a trophy cabinet of prestigious awards is a fantastic deal.
I'll make that deal. How about you, Yudovich? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
Fair play to A24. They made one of the worst movies of 2025 for $2 and successfully baited the fart-sucking morons in Hollywood into coughing up a loot bag full of awards for the effort. If I had legs, if I had legs, I'd walk right out of this stupid fucking movie. Don't Worry Darling is a 2022 mystery drama directed by Olivia Wilde. I just discovered that is not actually her real name. Appropriately for a feminist director, Olivia Wilde's real name is Olivia Cockburn. Don't Worry Darling is Cockburn's sophomore directorial effort. Cockburn's directorial debut is a 2018 movie called Booksmart. Cockburn also directed a few short movies. Don't Worry Darling is the first time Cockburn has directed herself in a Cockburn movie. Don't Worry Darling is 2 hours long, but the plot is simple. Now, this is a mystery movie with a shocking twist, so spoiler warning for Olivia Cockburn stans. Harry Styles and Florence Pugh live an idyllic life in 50s suburbia in a town called Victory. Harry works for the company that owns the town. The company is also called Victory. His work is top secret. None of the men in the town who all work for the company can discuss the activities of the company. The women are all stay-at-home tradwives and are forbidden any knowledge of company activities. The women are also forbidden from going into the desert, and they must never go to company headquarters. It is a life of almost cartoonish bliss. Harry comes home and Flo is waiting for him, whiskey in hand, roast at the ready, and if Harry requires it, legs spread. But as the days pass, Flo notices that things feel off in this 1950s American dream. Flo's suspicions grow. She eventually has a public crash out, and long story short, she discovers that none of this is real. Yeah, it's the Matrix. Actually, it's the Alpha Matrix, but we'll get to that in a bit. Every man in the Alpha Matrix has kidnapped his wife, rendered her unconscious, and placed her in a comatose state so that she can be imprisoned permanently inside the Alpha Matrix. The Alpha Matrix is the creation of a cult leader who I'm calling Jordan. During the promotion of the movie, Cockburn openly stated that the cult leader was modeled after Jordan Peterson. When Flo finally remembers her real life, she discovers that her name isn't even Flo, it's Doctor.
Good night, Dr. Warren. Good night.
Doctor works as a surgery nurse in the real world, and Harry Styles isn't a Chad company man, he's a virgin doomer. He spends his day doom-scrolling the internet and listening to toxic male influencers. Jordan recruited Harry into the Alpha Matrix, so Harry drugged his wife and enslaved her within the digital patriarchy. After Doctor discovers all of this, she murders Harry, then escapes the Alpha Matrix. On her way out, she seems to cause the place to bug out. All the other women begin to wake up to their enslavement. Then, for no identifiable reason, Jordan's wife stabs him to death. She even twists the knife in spite. Then she announces that girls get it done.
It's my turn now.
The age of men is over.
You stupid, stupid man.
The time of the orc has come.
It's my turn now.
The movie ends with Doctor waking up. Before we get into the details of Don't Worry Darling, let's examine some of the movie's plot holes, just to emphasize how absurdly stupid the premise and plot is. Mr. Reflection, give my musical taste a reflection of itself.
Reflection of myself.
Why is the exit portal not guarded by NPCs? Why is this absolute paradise not more popular? Why is it even necessary for men to imprison their women inside the alpha matrix? If full, matrix-like sensual immersion could be achieved, the most immediate application of the technology would be sexual fantasy fulfillment. Men would pay for a threesome with 90s Jennifer Aniston and Winona Ryder, release the Winona cut. Women would pay to be grabbed off the dance floor and fucked in a dirty cupboard by Liam Gallagher at a stinking dive bar Oasis gig in 1994. No one has to be drugged to agree to this. Why is Jordan's company not a global corporate giant selling fantasy to the miserable and unwashed? How is a lifetime of false memories created to replace the women's real memories, and how are these fake memories implanted? Why the big mystery about company activities? Why not just make up something boring, like all the men work at the nuclear plant? Forbidden fruit is sweet. More on that in a bit. Why is it necessary to lie to the women? Modern women are absolutely miserable. Women today are the unhappiest they have ever been in recorded history. Thanks, feminism? Many women would jump at the opportunity to escape Weimar and enter the alpha matrix. How did no one notice when Doctor went missing? She works as a nurse at a surgery. Surely the head surgeon would notice when one of his hottest nurses fails to bring him his after-lunch coffee and blowjob. What about her parents, friends, relatives, and Geezer, the rock bassist who rams her several times a week while Harry wanks off to OnlyFans upstairs? Do none of these people notice that Doctor is missing? Come to think of it, how is it even possible that no one notices that any of these women are missing? There are several dozen kidnap victims in the alpha matrix. If one of these women is discovered by the authorities, the entire illegal operation gets shut down. Why does Doctor refuse sex from Harry Styles? He's Harry Styles. My understanding is that women are quite fond of him. What do you think, sweetheart? Like Harry Styles? No. No? Where's my gear? Why don't the comatose wives suffer from muscle atrophy, circulatory problems, starvation, and the various other severe medical complications which result from lying in bed and not moving ever? In the real world, the men have to work, eat, shit, shower, shave, wank, sleep, pay the rent, do the shopping, feed, clean, and groom their comatose wives, and do all the other mechanical chores of life. This would leave next to no time for gaming in the alpha matrix. Why does Jordan live in the alpha matrix? He is presumably rich. He doesn't need to live in a digital Neverland with a pathetic gaggle of Peter Panlings. He can hang out at the real world country club with other real life tech chads like himself. Why does his wife live here? She knows she's surrounded by loser men and kidnap victims. To hell with the alpha matrix. She wants to be gossiping with the other spoiled wives at the country club, getting massages, having an affair with the tennis coach of her rich elites only country club, and doing interviews with journalists about the importance of open borders. Why does Jordan's wife murder him? Is Don't Worry Darling set in a slightly worse version of reality where it is legal for a woman to murder her husband? Did she just feel like it? Is this a life insurance scam? Or did Olivia Cockburn just want an excuse for a clunky line about how women need to take over from useless men?
You stupid, stupid man.
A supremely ironic aspect of Don't Worry Darling is that the movie accidentally retells the story of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is an allegory, a warning about what happens when women begin to dominate men. Society collapses, men and women both become miserable as a result. In Don't Worry Darling, Adam and Eve live a perfect existence in the Garden of Eden. Then Eve encounters the snake, who gets her curious because the snake has eaten of the forbidden fruit and now claims enlightenment. Eve believes the snake and eats of the forbidden fruit. This leads to the fall of man. There's even a little bit of Cain and Abel in there. Eve commits the first murder when she hits Harry over the head with a rock. Well, actually a statuette or something, but you get the point. Olivia Cockburn set out to make a feminist movie which uses 1950s America as a metaphor to assert that women who choose to be homekeepers are actually slaves to their husband. And the women didn't actually choose that life. They were brainwashed by the patriarchy. What Cockburn ended up making is a retelling of the Garden of Eden. Her movie warns of the dangers of women gaining too much independence. The central message of Don't Worry Darling is that woman must remain in the home lest she destroy her family, her society, and herself. This message is good and correct. Now let us examine some of the feminist symbolism in Don't Worry Darling. The opening shot shows Flo dancing with a tray on her head, symbolizing her objectification. She is a thing that serves and a thing that gratifies sexual desire. In the morning, the husbands all pull out toward the company at the exact same time. The last two cars in the patriarchal procession are colored red, white, and blue, in that order. This is the American dream, one in which men are winners and women are slaves. The women are taught to move in unison in ballet class. The women are being brainwashed to all think exactly alike. Unlike the people in Hollywood who make this shite, they are independent minds. The enforcers in victory are men in red jumpsuits, probably NPCs. The enforcers of patriarchy, the oppressors of women in America, wear monotone red suits. Oh man. Sorry guys, this one's too subtle for me. Best guesses in the comments section, thanks. Flo picks up an egg to crack into the pan, but realizes that the egg is hollow. All the eggs in the carton are hollow. This symbolizes that there is no substance to this world. The alpha matrix looks nice, but is entirely fake. Trad wifedom may look nice on the TikTok reels, especially the part where you don't drag your miserable, exhausted ass out of bed at 6 AM to go work for some random asshole who will sign off on firing you without a second's thought the moment the company decide to cut headcount. But in reality, trad wifedom is empty, meaningless, substanceless. Harry arrives home to find his beautiful wife waiting for him, dolled up, whiskey in hand. Are we sure the alpha matrix isn't real? Is there somewhere I can sign up to this? Can I use the Salma Hayek skin for my trad wife? Also, I want a Cameron Diaz NPC as my side piece.
You've been inside me.
Julie.
I've swallowed your cum.
Why, oh why didn't I take the blue pill?
Anyway, Harry pushes Flo onto the table so he can go down on her. Again, objectification. Flo is a thing that is served on a table for the enjoyment of Harry. A miniature model of Victory shows the surrounding mountains. These mountains represent patriarchal systems which keep women hemmed in and prevent them from achieving independence. The objectification theme is hit again when Harry is fingering Flo and Jordan comes in to watch, impressed with what he sees. Flo sees a plane crash in the desert. She asks the bus driver to drive out so they can help anyone who might have survived the crash. But that way leads to the exit portal, so the driver refuses, telling her,
"That's not my route. I can't."
The patriarchy sets women upon a strict path in life. In order to escape patriarchy and become independent, women must leave that path and enter the wilderness. I do wonder what happened to that plane though.
Extraordinary footage from inside the plane seconds after the impact shows passengers hanging upside down, suspended by their seatbelts.
The first officer was 26-year-old Kendall Swanson, who had just received her airline transport pilot certificate 6 weeks prior to the accident.
Cockburn strawmans the argument that feminism is destructive Marxism posing as equality. This fact is reduced to the raving of a cult leader.
Chaos that reigns under the auspice of equality.
Flo hallucinates being crushed by the windows of her house while cleaning them. The wall behind her shows photos of Harry and Flo in her wedding dress. She is crushed between the twin evils of marriage and homekeeping. Later that day, she argues with Harry at the same wall. Again, she is crushed between house and husband. Flo sees the serpent commit Canadian healthcare. The serpent stands on top of her house, slits her own throat, and falls back. Now that the serpent is free and independent, housework is literally beneath her. Flo runs over to try to help, but men in red jumpsuits immediately rush in to prevent the virus of independent womanhood from spreading. Again, red jumpsuits. Nope, still not getting anything. Flo is wrapping some meals for Harry. Then she starts wrapping the foil around her own head. Again, objectification. She is a thing for Harry to enjoy. Also, suffocation. She is suffocated by domestication. Flo is taking a bath when Harry tells her he wants to fire a kid up her. Flo is submerged up to the neck, almost completely drowned by her domestic enslavement. If she has a baby, she will be pulled under. The last remnant of her independence will disappear forever. When Flo disappears underwater, her face reflection remains in the mirror.
Reflection of myself, reflection of myself, reflection of myself.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reflection. We were all thinking it, and you said it.
Reflection of myself.
I quite like this moment. a little bug in the alpha matrix. Olivia Cockburn does a Goodfellas reference in a scene in which Harry and Flo go to a party, because Olivia Cockburn thinks that Don't Worry Darling is a masterpiece that will one day be held in the same regard as Goodfellas. Harry dances on stage to celebrate his promotion at the same moment as Flo breaks down in tears, realizing there is something profoundly wrong. His triumph is her misery. Man cannot succeed but through the immiseration of woman. The shot of Harry's real-world man cave shows a poster of From Russia with Love on the wall. James Bond is the ultimate male fantasy. He defeats the villain, usually after stealing the villain's girl. He has vast sexual conquests. He moves in high-status circles, always wins at cards. Men often use card games as a proxy for dick measuring, and Bond always wins. Bond has an adventurous lifestyle, and he does it all for king and country. The Bond poster is used to symbolize the patriarchal world of the past that Harry longs for.
I don't know what you mean.
Liar!
The real-world prison that Doctor is held in is her and Harry's bed. A shared bed is a symbol of marriage. Doctor is imprisoned within marriage. There is one scene in Don't Worry Darling that hits hard. Harry's villain monologue.
My life! You don't get to take that from me!
I gave this to you! I gave you all of this, Alice! Frank built this world so that we can live the life that we deserve. I have to leave every day just to make enough money to keep us here, and I fucking hate every minute of it. I fucking hate it, Alice!
Harry's primal scream is genuinely impactful. As with Barbie, what the director thinks of as a villain is actually the most relatable character. A man suffering in the Weimar hellscape is so black-pilled, so deprived of any opportunity to improve his life that he gives up on ever having a good life, a family, and something resembling status in society. He knows that he will only ever be an emasculated zero, a rent serf living in squalor and working a crap job he hates. One day he'll get sent home early from the warehouse because of a small fire, walk into his apartment and find his wife getting rammed into oblivion by Geezer, the downstairs neighbour and bass player in some poser rock band that his wife likes for some reason. Don't Worry Darling nearly makes a good point in Harry's villain monologue. It nearly asks an interesting question. Why would a man become so desperately hopeless of his prospects in the modern world that he's willing to imprison his wife within the alpha matrix? But instead of trying to answer this question, the movie just hits Harry over the head with a rock. Harry grabs Alice and begins suffocating her. Alice is dressed in a white dress that could be a wedding dress. She is suffocated by marriage, and she only frees herself from the suffocating nature of marriage by murdering her husband. It is revealed that Olivia has chosen to be a slave in the patriarchal hellscape.
I've always known. Bunny, your kids aren't real. They are. Kids aren't real.
No, they are. They're real to me. They're real to me, Alice, because
here they're alive.
The message is that only a woman who has gone mad would choose to be a housewife. Don't Worry Darling was a moderate success. The movie made $86.7 million on a $30 million budget. However, it did not receive any of the awards Olivia Cockburn was hoping for. Don't Worry Darling got 2 completely irrelevant awards nominations, audience reaction was mixed to negative, and critics torched the movie, giving it 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, calling it unoriginal, contrived, boring, heavy-handed, and hammy. Even feminist film critics didn't chill for this rubbish. Patrice Witherspoon, in an article for Pop Culture Reviews, wrote, "If Don't Worry Darling was supposed to be some sort of women power awakening or commentary on our society's failure to recognize a rise in incel behavior, it failed miserably, and did so with as little substance as possible." Olivia Cockburn's next movie is an A24 comedy called The Invite, coming out June 2026, probably around the time this video drops. The Wikipedia plot reads as follows. A married couple experiencing a rough patch in their relationship find themselves invited by their neighbours to engage in their weekly orgies. Olivia, let's make a deal. I will go watch this movie against my better judgment if you promise never to use Ozempic or any other weight loss drug ever again. Don't worry, darling, the movie's over. The Woman King is the based on powerful true events tale of how a group of Dahomey Amazon warriors called the Agoji rampaged through West Africa, defeated all who stood before them, sent the European colonizers packing, and abolished slavery in the region, then invaded the USA and abolished slavery there. The Woman King is perhaps the purest example of girl boss feminism released during the woke era. While cape shit slop like Captain Marvel, The Marvels, and Wakanda Forever are all prime examples of girl boss trash at its worst, they are all fictional. They present the world as feminism wishes it to be, one in which random men are assaulted and robbed for the crime of approaching a woman, where black teenage girls murder random police officers and are celebrated for it.
I got a special delivery for y'all in 3, 2, 1.
The Woman King pushes the girl boss factor into hyperdrive because it claims to be real. The film features the assertion that the movie is based on powerful, true events. Viola Davis really did ragdoll an elite warrior built like a heavyweight boxer. An army of women really did destroy the army of a geopolitical rival. These same women really did destroy a Portuguese colonial outpost in an attempt to combat slavery. And the Dahomey really did abolish slavery. Obviously, all of these claims are false. The Woman King is the worst abuse of the claim based on true events in the history of film. The Woman King is a total distortion of historical reality. The Dahomey were genocidal slavers. The Dahomey Empire was built on slavery. Literally, their main export was slaves. They also practiced human sacrifice. Every year, 500 slaves were murdered in human sacrifice rituals intended to honor dead Dahomey kings. Contrary to what is depicted in the movie, the Dahomey Amazons weren't frontline troops. Their main task was slave raids. When an enemy's fighting men were off defending themselves from the Dahomey, the Amazons were sent into the now defenseless enemy villages to capture women, children, sick, and elderly. Any captives who wouldn't fetch a good price at the slave markets were murdered on the spot or carried away for ritual human sacrifice. The Amazons were sometimes used in battle as a reserve force, particularly against the French after the French crushed the Dahomey regular army. In these battles, the Amazons were pathetic. At the Battle of Aragon, fought gloriously in 1892, a French army of around 2,000 men smashed a Dahomey force consisting mostly of Amazons with a single bayonet charge. 417 Dahomey Amazons and 86 Dahomey regulars were killed in minutes, for the loss of 6 French troops.
Vive la France!
The Woman King was the brain demon of producer Mario Bello, who learned about the Dahomey Amazons during a trip to Africa. Bello was so enraptured by the stories of black warrior women that she created a historical fan fiction based on her feminist fantasy of the Dahomey Amazons. She started peddling the script around Hollywood in 2017, but no studio was interested in making this bollocks because it had bomb written all over it. So the script languished, forgotten in the gigantic pile of rejected Hollywood screenplays, destined never to see the light of day. But then, history took a fateful turn which caused Hollywood to suddenly greenlight the Woman King. In 2020, a career criminal died of a drug overdose. This monumental, historic event obliged everyone who thought of themselves as anyone in Hollywood to signal their anti-racist credentials as loudly and as publicly as possible. During this national psychosis, TriStar Pictures greenlit The Woman King so that they could brag about how the studio was investing in black stories, and so began one of the most bizarre failures in Hollywood history. I detail the background to and the failure of The Woman King in a previous video, but I didn't actually review the movie in that video, so here is my long overdue review of that abhorrence. The Woman King's first mistake comes in the first frame, a wall of exposition text. An expository text opening is always wrong, except in Star Wars, which was an homage to old Flash Gordon serials and a literal, bold statement that this movie was going to be an exciting adventure at a time when American cinema had grown stale, pessimistic, and a total drag. The Woman King's opening text communicates too much information. It makes reference to Dahomey, Gizo, the Oyo Empire, Mahi people, European slavers, the young king, the Agoji, General Naniska. The film expects the audience to remember 8 key plot elements from a brief text crawl. This is a ridiculously unrealistic expectation, especially since the names of the people and kingdoms involved are African names that are completely unfamiliar to a Western audience. There are 5 key elements in the Star Wars opening crawl, all rendered in language that is familiar to the target audience: rebel spaceships, evil galactic empire, secret plans, ultimate weapon, Princess Leia, good guys, bad guys, plans, weapon, princess. These elements are simple, familiar, and easy to remember. Compare that with Gizo, Oyo, Dahomey, Naniska, Agoji. For over 99% of viewers, that is a spew of incomprehensible gibberish, and there is no need for a text crawl here. All of this info can and should be communicated naturally at a manageable pace over the course of the first act, not vomited into the viewer's face in a grotesque text crawl. The Woman King wastes no time in getting straight into girl boss fantasy. The opening sequence shows Viola Davis leading her band of heroes in a night attack against an enemy. The fight choreography is typical Hollywood girl boss bilge. Large, muscled extras move slowly toward the girl bosses one by one, each taking their turn to die. Here's a perfect example. I've increased brightness to make this clearer. Tiny girl boss spins her spear around continuously in what looks like a choreographed dance move. During the move, she presents her back to her enemy. 3 men attack one by one, but they don't actually attack, they just move toward her while holding weapons. The third guy doesn't even attempt to load up an attack, he just stands directly in front of her, waiting to be hit. The sequence also features an Amazon outboxing her male opponent and tossing him in the dirt at her feet, where he belongs. Viola Davis ragdolls a large warrior, and at the end, the Amazons liberate some slaves, to whom they show great compassion and concern. After the Amazons return to the Dahomey capital, a young girl is introduced to her future husband, some old fat guy. Being that this is a feminist movie, he slaps her across the face within seconds. But she tosses him in the dirt, where he belongs. So the old fat ass skedaddles with his misogyny between his legs, and our young, fierce heroine is given over to the Amazons. In a meeting with King John, Viola Davis voices her opposition to slavery.
It is a poison slowly killing us, and the Europeans know this. They come to our land for their human cargo.
The Woman King is set in 1832. At that time, the only people opposed to slavery in Africa were the Europeans who were abolishing it, primarily the British. To its credit, the movie does at least concede this point. In 1892, 60 years after The Woman King is set, the Dahomey went to war with the French because the French were abolishing slavery in the region. The Dahomey wanted to preserve slavery because it was the foundation of their kingdom's wealth. The French won and stomped out slavery in the region. But wait, I thought colonialism was a bad thing.
But what about the Congo? Bro, didn't you know that King Leopold of Belgium killed 900 million Africans in the Congo?
How dare you? Why? How dare you? Why?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Reflection of myself.
Yeah, so turns out that's a lie. It just never happened. I recommend you watch an excellent video called The Truth About King Leopold II and the Congo by YouTube channel James Atlas. He also has an excellent video on Mansa Musa called Mansa Musa, the Biggest Fraud in History. The idea that there was a moral objection to slavery coming from within the Dahomey is the fantasy of the Karens who made this shite. The filmmakers didn't have the imagination to depict the Dahomey honestly. In their minds, these are female warriors and thus cannot be depicted as villains. So the moral outlook of the Amazons was cleansed. This is actually an incredibly condescending attitude. Africans don't have anything in their history to be proud of, so we, the enlightened Americans, will invent something that they can be proud of. Not incidentally, this was Marvel's entire marketing campaign for Black Panther. Africa as a whole, with no culture or history to be proud of, but look, we invented this cartoonish, illogical hodgepodge of ancient Africa and modern futurism, so now black people can pretend to have something to be proud of? Isn't that great, guys? Aren't we great? What's even more pathetic is that many black Americans actually bought into this crock. There are pictures showing screenings of black audiences making Black Power salutes before and after Black Panther.
Reflection of myself.
As I have stated before, the 2010s was the decade of cringe. Peak cringe hit in 2020 with this. If you know, you know, and you wish you could forget. The Woman King's opening is supremely boring. The women hang around talking. We learn that the writer forgot to include any real character motivation for our young hero, who wants to be a soldier because you want to be a soldier.
I want to be a soldier.
She is not fighting for justice, vengeance, loyalty to her father's memory, wealth, glory, status, or anything else that might be vaguely interesting. She wants to be a soldier because
I want to be a soldier.
So thus far, the characters you will emotionally invest in are a bunch of overpowered girl bosses and a vainglorious brat. Later, we learn that vainglorious brat is also a moron.
The men who are soldiers have wives and children, but the Agojia cannot. How is that fair?
Well, vainglorious, women get pregnant when they marry, and pregnant women can't fight. Also, it's 1832, and the leading cause of death for women in the civilized world is childbirth. Would you care to hazard a guess as to the rate of death in childbirth in this third world shithole? You know, I met an American soldier once who told me that in the vast majority of cases, when female soldiers are deployed to base after basic training, they just get pregnant and are completely useless, hanging around all day, eating up taxpayer money. I think he was deployed at Pyeongtaek. I actually lived not far from there in a little rice village called Derimdongsan for about 8 months. I say little village, but that's by modern Korean standards, so there were several tall apartment buildings and a few really nice cafes, good restaurants as well. The training montage follows a generic training montage template. You've almost certainly seen this sequence before in other better movies. There's another girl boss moment in which Lashana Lynch defeats a large man in a test of endurance.
Yes, yes.
This ridiculous scene aside, Lashana Lynch is one of the few bright spots in the movie. She's boisterous and charismatic. Viola Davis is terrible. She looks bored the whole time. I think she's trying to do intimidating, like if Clint Eastwood was a drill instructor, but she cannot pull it off and ends up looking like she's waiting in line at the post office. And she's about as convincing as an action star as Mark Zuckerberg is as a human being.
You drink coffee, man, or no?
Nah.
John Boyega is... that guy really is a perfectly mediocre actor. Not bad, just there. The vainglorious brat actress is woeful. She has zero screen presence, no charisma, no spark, no range, no nothing. She is flat as a pancake at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. An appalling piece of casting.
I wasn't allowed to play. I was made to work. You don't know anything. But we have not had one in so many years. How is that fair?
I want to be a soldier.
After the training montage, there are two sleep-inducing dialogue scenes. In one, Lashana Lynch talks to the brat. I can't remember what about. In the other, Viola Davis is having a bad dream, so some willowy bint comes in and they have a chat about Viola Davis's dream. The first compelling scene in the movie comes when an evil guy that looks like LeBron James arrives to collect tribute for the OU King.
We have taken control. He belongs to us now.
King John agrees to deliver a tribute of 20 Amazons to LeBron, but the movie can't allow 20 strong, powerful women to be traded away like cattle. So when the Amazons arrive to deliver the tribute, it's girl bossing time. LeBron looks like he weighs 240 pounds of pure muscle. Viola Davis is a pudgy 5'5" woman in her 50s. The editors try to make the showdown between LeBron and Davis convincing, with lots of fast cuts, shaky cam, and close-ups, but this is just Stupid. The only way for a female character to convincingly kick the ass of a larger, trained man in a movie is plot justification. In The Matrix, Trinity can destroy a squad of cops because the fight is taking place in the Matrix. She can use cheat codes and they can't. And she's been pumped full of digital martial arts training. The explanation the Woman King offers for why a small, pudgy 5'5" woman in her 50s can take on a heavyweight boxer is the Dahomey Amazons were fierce and well trained. That is not sufficient plot justification. Pure girl boss tripe. But the biggest problem with the fight choreography of Viola Davis versus LeBron is laziness. The fight is cliche. You've seen this exact fight scene countless times. The girl boss rushes in, there's a million fast cuts and close-ups to cover up the fact that she can't actually fight, and the guy ends up on the ground somehow. Just from an action choreography perspective, do something different. Have 3 of the hers rush LeBron at the same time. At least try to make the fight plausible. The scene also exposes a serious problem with The Woman King: lack of action. The movie goes 45 minutes without an action scene, and this is supposed to be a war movie. After miraculously escaping and returning to the capital, Viola Davis explains to the viewer that immorality was brought to Africa by the white man.
The white man has brought immorality here. They will not stop until the whole of Africa is theirs to enslave.
She also expresses some pan-African nationalism.
Even if they are not Dahomey, they are still our people.
Afro-nationalism wasn't a thing in the 19th century, and slavery has always existed in Africa, even today. The Arab slave trade in Africa started in the 7th century and continued until the middle of the 20th century. As many as 10 million Africans were enslaved during the Arab slave trade. Many were castrated, as the Muslim purchasers of the slaves would pay 7 times as much for a castrated slave. One notable legacy of Barack Obama's presidency is the presence of slavery in Libya today. The slave trade re-emerged under organised gangs in Libya after the destruction of Colonel Gaddafi's regime, a development celebrated by then uniquely qualified to be President Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton.
We came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No.
According to the UN, after the fall of Gaddafi, Libya became an epicenter for migrant child abuse. And yes, the term abuse means exactly what you think it means. I wonder how the women who made The Woman King voted in the 2016 US presidential election. Anyway, the evil white trader who brought slavery and moral imperfection to Africa tells LeBron he needs more slaves, so LeBron vows to destroy and enslave the Dahomey capital. The movie then does a historical reverse Uno.
Go back to Rida's slaver, naked like the people you sell.
Well, you're here now. Come in. Where you been?
In another indicator of how bad the pacing in The Woman King is, the trainee girl bosses don't graduate from basic. Graduation wasn't a thing in Dahomey society, but whatever. They don't graduate until over an hour in. Full Metal Jacket is a perfect comparison for The Woman King because both movies have the same structure. Trainees enter basic, they train, then they go to war. In Full Metal Jacket, the trainees graduate from basic at the 39-minute mark. The Woman King takes 23 minutes longer than that. This is simply wrong. It is dramatically and structurally incorrect. This is a war movie. Get to the fucking war. But hey, at least we get to see the girls at war now, right? Right. Oh no, actually we get talking, then more talking, then more talking, then more talking, then more talking, but through a thatched door this time, then a dance number. Don't you want to watch a dance number? Isn't that what you came to a war movie for? Are these bints ever going to leave this training complex and do something? So more talking, then more talking, then more talking, then during talking between Viola Davis and Vainglorious Brat, it is revealed that Brat is Palpatine's granddaughter.
I made a cut on the back of the left arm and I pressed a tooth into it, a shark's tooth.
This is one of the worst all-time movie tropes, main characters being related to each other. Obviously, Vader's reveal in The Empire Strikes Back was iconic, but then the characters related trope became a massively overused cliche. Ironically, the most infamous example prior to the somehow return of Palpatine was Return of the Jedi. As far as big reveals go, Leia turning out to be Luke's sister was an absolute clanker.
I know.
Somehow,
Somehow.
I've always known. I've always known. I've always known. I've always known. I've always known.
That should have killed the lead characters or related trope forever. Another example is from 2021 Disney villain origin movie Cruella. Cruella finds herself up against an evil villainess played by Emma Thompson. Long story short, it is revealed that Cruella is actually Palpatine's granddaughter. After discovering that Viola Davis is her father, Brat does what Luke did and takes off. The movie teases a battle, but realizing that something fun is in danger of happening, the woman directing this vomit decides that no, actually, the audience don't want to see a battle yet. The movie's only been going on for an hour and 20 minutes, so instead, let's have another dance number. When the movie finally does a battle after nearly an hour and a half of runtime, the battle begins with a plot hole. Viola Davis sees the OU army advancing along a ridge. Then she fills termite holes not far from the enemy position with gunpowder. The OU don't see this, but they do make camp right next to the termite hills. Literally, they put their tents right next to the termite hills filled with gunpowder. How did Viola Davis know this small OU army would bivouac in this exact spot? Look at this shot. The OU army is surrounded by flat, easily defensible terrain. The odds of them making camp in the small termite field are tiny. Oh, for fuck's sake. I was listening to Be Here Now while redrafting up to this point in the script. Now I have to stop listening to Oasis's third album and return to my rewatch of The Woman King. Be Here Now is massively underappreciated, man. In a very real sense, Oasis are actually underrated. You see, the commonly held narrative among fans is that the first two albums are great and then it's all downhill. This is incorrect. Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, in particular, while imperfect, is a brilliant album. The opener, Fucking in the Bushes, communicates Noel's artistic vision for the album, a psychedelic soundscape infused with hard-edged rock, but divested of hippie nonsense. This is why we get the quote from the 1970 Isle of Wight Festival.
We put this festival on you bastards with a lot of love. We worked for 1 year for you pigs. And you want to break our walls down? And you want to destroy it? Well, you go to hell!
So the battle is pure girl boss slop. Here are a few of the highlights. A tiny girl boss does a Mario wall jump off one guy to launch into another guy. Viola Davis grabs a guy in a kind of Muay Thai half clinch. Then the guy backspins into the dirt. Spear Spinner from the opening raid does a backward cartwheel, then spins her spear theatrically and downs an enemy. Tiny Girl Boss is on the ground, an enemy lunges at her, but she spins around behind him, heel hooks him, takes him down and kills him. Vainglorious Brat fells two warriors at once with a scorpion dagger.
Get over here! Get over here! Get the fuck over here!
This next one's my personal favourite. Girl Boss climbs up a standing enemy, sits on his shoulders and breaks his neck. Viola Davis blocks a bullet with her machete. Unable to stand up to the sheer power of Girl Boss, LeBron orders a retreat and the men flee in panic before the powerful Amazons. Brat and Lashana Lynch are captured in battle. They try to escape slave auction, but Lashana is shot and killed. Brat is purchased by the mulatto Portuguese man. He's the only good European because his African blood makes him less evil. Viola leads a raid to liberate the captives, during which she gives the following order.
Burn their whole trade to the ground.
Their whole trade. There being Europeans, because as this movie has made clear, slavery in Africa was a uniquely European creation. There's a particularly empowering scene in which a white man slaver is punched to death by a righteous black Amazonian liberator. As the white man falls dead, the music swells to a note of triumph. Terrified by the presence of the powerful Amazons, the Portuguese flee. The slaver tries to bring his human loot with him, but his mulatto friend betrays him. The mulatto righteously sets the slaves free and watches while they drown his friend in the ocean. Lad, Okay, so you want to free these men, fair enough, but you just stand there and watch while your friend is murdered? Is this act of murderous betrayal supposed to be a moment of redemption? Next is the final boss fight between Viola Davis and LeBron. The two engage in unarmed combat. Viola stuffs LeBron's takedown attempt and stands up to 4 hooks in a row that all land cleanly on her head. Mr. Reflection, please show the viewers what happens when a heavyweight boxer lands a shot cleanly on an opponent.
Pajuri already! Oh, this is over! He is out! Man!
Next, Viola Davis blocks a downward dagger strike with her forearm. Good defensive technique there. Then she finishes by overpowering LeBron and reverse unoing his dagger.
Come in.
Then another dead trope, Deus Ex Machina, specifically the attacker gets hit from behind at the last second variant. The tiny girl boss then kills 2 more professional European soldiers, and before you comment about how absurd this is, remember that girl boss Yas Queen slay bitch boss babe.
Yes, yes.
After the Dahomey victory over the European slavers, King John officially abolishes slavery in America.
And the Americans have seen if you want to hold a people in chains, one must first convince them that they are meant to be bound. We join them in becoming our own oppressor, but no more.
I hope I don't need to tell you that no Dahomey king ever abolished slavery, though in 1727 King Agaja did preside over the slaughter of 5,000 slaves who were ritually murdered as human sacrifices during the annual customs.
We are the blade of freedom!
The USA abolished the Atlantic slave trade in 1808, 25 years before the Woman King is set. The movie ends with yet another dance sequence because the Karens who made this abomination have a culture fetish for African dance. In the final shot of this based on powerful true events masterpiece, the powerful Amazons stare off at the retreating European slavers, and all of Africa unites in celebration at the end of slavery on the continent. The Woman King is notable as one of the first movies to have its audience score rigged on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie has an audience score of 3.2 on Metacritic and 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Woman King flopped at the box office, failed to double its budget, and lost the studio involved around $30 million. The Woman King is a bizarre hodgepodge of war movie tropes, girl boss feminism, Afrocentrism, historical distortion, anti-white propaganda, and dance numbers. The Woman King is the worst historical distortion Hollywood has ever created. Oh, oh, I'm a woman king. Oh, oh, I enslave Africans. Oh. Chaos Walking is a 2021 sci-fi box office disaster starring Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, and Mads Mikkelsen. So I'm gonna get straight to the point here. I love this movie. Chaos Walking takes place on a new Earth, creatively called New World. The premise of Chaos Walking is that all the men on New World are plagued by a mysterious force that causes their thoughts to appear around their head in audio-visual form. The colonists call this force the Noise.
See that it hurts. I can hear everything you're thinking, you dumb shit. Jesus ass.
But only men have noise. Women do not have noise. Because
Aaron, our holy man, said women don't have noise because we've got no souls.
Fucking beast! Chaos Walking is one of the worst and most bizarre sci-fi movies of this decade. The movie wants to be a big budget sci-fi box office smash, but also wants to be anti-Christian propaganda and appeal to the modern audience with hammy feminist messaging that makes a complete mockery of the plot. A plot which makes absolutely no sense, nor does the premise or the world build. Why am I looking at Mads Mikkelsen riding a horse and wearing a cowboy hat and woman's fur coat? Chaos Walking is aptly named because this movie is a chaotic mess. There's also a lot of walking in it, come to think of it. So the plot is simple enough. Mr. Reflection, bring that shit in! Tom Holland lives in an all-male rural colony that looks like an early 19th century American frontier village. There are no women in this colony because the New World natives killed them all in a war with the humans when Tom was a baby. Daisy Ridley arrives at New World with some other colonists and crash lands near Tom's house. Tom goes to the mayor, Mads, and tells him about the crash, and Daisy is apprehended. Mads demands to know where Daisy's ship will land. He plans to ambush it, but he doesn't tell this to Daisy. Daisy doesn't want to tell Mads, so she fools Mads' idiot son, Nick Jonas, and escapes. Daisy runs away and hides in Tom's barn. Tom finds her there, but then Mads shows up with the Mad Lads, and it looks like all is lost, but then Daisy escapes their clutches. Tom follows after her, and the couple flee to a neighbouring village where that Ozempic witch, what's her name? 2 seconds. Cynthia Revo. She's the mayor, and she grants Tom and Daisy refuge. Tom has a copy of his mother's diary, but he can't read it because Mads outlawed reading, so Tom is illiterate. Daisy takes pity on Tom and reads his mother's diary to him, from which it is discovered that it was not the natives that killed all the women, it was the men. They murdered their own wives, daughters, sisters, and side pieces and blamed it on the aliens, the natives, who look exactly like an alien from an Area 51 t-shirt. Mads arrives with the Mad Lads, takes over Arevoville, and begins hunting for Daisy. One of Mads' Mad Lads tries to capture Daisy, but she puts him in his place. Tom's dad uses noise to fool Mads while Tom and Daisy escape. They are pursued by a fanatical Christian preacher who tries to murder them. Tom and Daisy escape his clutches, and in a fit of rage, the preacher drowns Tom's dog. Tom and Daisy escape to a nearby old ship or something. They use the ship's communication device to send a message to Daisy's ship. Tom and Mads fight. The preacher attacks Daisy, but she burns him to death. Conveniently for Daisy, the preacher just walks calmly away after being set on fire. Mads wins his fight against Tom, but Daisy arrives to save the day and kill Mads. In the final scene, a wounded Tom wakes up in the medical facility of Daisy's ship. This man, who never saw a woman before he met Daisy, begs for romantic attention.
Can I kiss me? Shut up.
But Daisy just scoffs off the idea. Chaos Walking contains an extreme anti-Christian component, which manifests in the form of the preacher. This guy is a cartoon character. He is a Redditor's strawman fantasy version of a Christian preacher. He's always angry. Biblical passages burst from his head, accompanied by a blood-red mist.
Thrown into the lake of fire!
The preacher persuades the men of the village to murder all the women. The preacher detests women. He pursues Daisy with a blood-curdling hatred that literally boils out of his head in a red aura. Another bizarre aspect of Chaos Walking is the aliens. This $125 million sci-fi movie contains a grand total of 1 alien, who appears in one scene in which he fights Tom. There's a brief shot of an alien village, and that's it. That is the entirety of the aliens part in this movie. The aliens have zero impact on the plot. Why even have aliens on this planet if you're not going to use them in the story? The premise of Chaos Walking makes no sense. Humans have been on this planet for over 20 years, yet there are only 2 human settlements. Why haven't there been hundreds or thousands more interstellar ships, each filled with thousands of settlers? This place is paradise. Convincing people to leave Weimar Earth and head to New World would be about as difficult as selling a narcissistic moron a $10,000 ticket to Coachella. The plot holes in Chaos Walking are many and vast. Why does the sudden presence of noise on Daisy's ship cause it to crash? At least one wave of human settlers already landed on this planet. An essential component of their mission would be to gather intelligence on the planet, then return to Earth to report their findings. At the very least, unmanned mini-ships with information on the planet would be sent back to Earth. The first thing settlers would deem important to report back is the presence of this mysterious noise. Why does Daisy's mothership not immediately send a rescue mission to the site of her crashed landing craft? Why have the aliens not attacked the human settlement at any point in the past 20 years? Why have the humans not attacked the aliens? If the 2 species are at peace, why do they not engage in trade? Why have none of the Mad Lads attempted to get to Arevoville? I know, the Arevans execute Mad Lads on sight, but surely, after 20 years without a woman, a few Mad Lads will leave Madland, arrive at Arevoville, put up their hands and say, "Alright, we admit it, We shouldn't have murdered all the women. That was a mistake, but hey, we're just human, right? Please, let us join your community. If not, just hang us now. If I have to wank off to the 20-year-old memory of Shannon Elizabeth's tits one more time, I'm gonna hang myself anyway. Damn, man, what happened to Shannon Elizabeth?
Where you been?
Fun fact, this year, Shannon Elizabeth, now 52 years old, made $1.2 million on OnlyFans in her first week on the site. And boys, I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Also, Shannon Elizabeth performed the funniest moment in Scary Movie.
Oh, now I'm gonna fall and break my leg, leaving me helpless. Ah! There you go, Mr. Scary Killer.
Wait, we have had feminism forced on us for over 60 years now, and in the US, the wealthiest country in the world, as many as 2.2 million women work as prostitutes on OnlyFans. What was the point of feminism again? So Mad's plan is to ambush Daisy's mothership at the landing site. Presumably, he'll shoot it down as it's landing, killing everyone on board. And the Mad lads all go along with this plan because Mads told them that the new settlers will take control of the area. Mads, I don't care if Daisy's crew takes over this pissant frontier cosplay village. I haven't had sex in 20 years! At least not with a woman. Daisy's ship has 4,000 people on board. Not a single mad lad would want to shoot that ship down. Every one of them would want to ensure that the ship landed safely along with its precious cargo of women and American Pie DVDs, unrated version, to say nothing of the vast amount of tech aboard the ship. And I'm sure at least a few of the mad lads wouldn't mind seeing a dentist, though I'm sure they'd be more interested in seeing a pair of tits. Am I right, boys? If there has only ever been 2 tiny human settlements on New World, then who built the massive foundations for the monorail? Construction of such large, complex structures would require a vast quantity of materials, resources, infrastructure, and machinery. What happened to all of that stuff? And if the humans were developed enough to build these structures, then why are they still traveling by horse? I could understand the first wave of settlers using horses because they would not be able to bring enough spare parts, fuel, batteries, and so forth for cars and other vehicles. Also, there's nothing to ride vehicles on because there are no roads yet. But the presence of the monorail structures suggests that there have been many waves of settlers. Where are they all? Where is all the construction equipment they brought with them? Where is everything else they built? Why would you even start building a monorail if there are only 2 human settlements and no roads? Did these guys get swindled by Lyle Lanley? How did Sherman get Nadia? I mean, I know his Shermanator line was a banger, but if it was that easy to get a supermodel into bed, OnlyFans wouldn't exist. Now let's talk about noise. Obviously, only men have it because, as this movie points out,
women don't have noise because we've got no souls.
That is the only explanation the movie gives for why the women don't have noise. This was the most interesting aspect of the premise, and the film offers no explanation for it, but who cares, because the preacher was right.
We've got no souls.
And why were the men angry at women for not making noise? That sounds like paradise. Christ knows we could use a lot less female noise this side of Jupiter, am I right, boys? Why did the men murder all the women? I venture to suggest that if Mads and the preacher tried to convince the men to murder all the women, the objections would be many.
But if I murder my wife, I won't be able to have sex with her anymore.
But if we kill all the women, our society will die out. Also, we'll go insane. But I don't want to murder my daughter because I'm not the director of If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. But if Harry murders Flo, he'll lose his membership to the Alpha Matrix. But if Prince Harry murders Meghan, Actually, yeah, Madge, you might have a point there, man. These are just practical objections. We haven't even gotten into the moral problems with total femicide. The explanation the movie gives for why Mads wanted to murder all the women makes no sense.
You taught those men to kill because you couldn't stand the thought of all those women seeing you for what you really are. A coward.
Why did he fear their opinion? Dunno. Also, the noise mechanic was underutilized. They missed out on some serious comic potential.
Hey.
I want you to fuck me. Are you sure?
Hey.
The key MacGuffin in Chaos Walking is the communications tech Daisy needs to send a signal to her mothership to warn them about the Mad Lads. This whole plot point is rendered nonsensical by the fact that the mothership would not land until scout ships had secured the landing site. Also, the mothership's planned landing site would almost certainly be changed after Daisy's scout ship crashes. While Florence Pugh rejecting Harry Styles is a flat-out plot hole, let's face it, you're punching above your weight, love, I can understand Daisy rejecting Tom. The guy is a bit of a scrote when it comes down to it. How did Spider-Man go from the Chad Bully Maguire to the virgin Tom Holland? And how the fuck did Sam Raimi go from Spider-Man to send help? Chaos Walking is determined to present a feminist strawman to the audience. Men murdered all the women because Christianity is bad and men are afraid of women. Plot, premise and world building is utterly neglected in service to that strawman. Chaos Walking was a financial cataclysm. On a budget of $215 million, Chaos Walking limped out of theaters with a box office of $27 million. The most obvious casualty of the disaster was Daisy Ridley's career. She lost any chance of breaking into A-list or even B-list status after the Disney Star Wars trilogy. Tom Holland's aspirations of moving beyond his role as the worst Spider-Man also took a massive blow. Critic scores were absolutely pathetic. 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences were indifferent to hostile. Chaos Walking currently sits at number 23 in Wikipedia's list of biggest box office bombs, with an estimated loss of $133 million. That is an impressive achievement for a movie that only cost $125 million. One of the unwritten rules of Hollywood is don't kill the dog. In Independence Day, the aliens blow up New York, but Roland Emmerich made sure to include a shot showing that the dog survived. Now, the despot is all-powerful, but even I dare not show the clip of Chaos Walking's canine aside in this video, for I have a healthy respect for the cardinal rules of entertainment scripture. Chaos Walking disobeyed those rules and paid the price for its hubris. And I saw, and behold, a pale horse, and he that sat upon him wore a cowboy hat and women's fur coat, and his name was my man, Mads Mikkelsen. Promising Young Woman is a 2020 feminist diatribe that claims to be a black comedy thriller, a label that makes no sense because this movie is about as funny as a cancer diagnosis from Leslie Jones and as thrilling as a weekend getaway with Maggie Gyllenhaal. The promising young woman in question is Carey Mulligan, who at the time of filming was neither young nor promising. Carey goes to bars and clubs, pretends to be drunk and entraps men into taking her home with them. When the men attempt to have sex with her, she confronts, threatens, and sometimes kills them. Carey wants revenge against men because in college her friend was raped by men and killed herself when the college refused to do anything about it. Carey meets Mr. Perfect, who tells her that one of his fraternity friends is getting married soon. It turns out that this friend is one of the rapists. So Carey plots her revenge. Promising Young Woman has a ridiculous twist ending, but we'll get to that. Before we get into the details of this disgusting piece of propaganda, let's examine its political foundations. The campus hysteria in the United States was a socially engineered moral panic that ran throughout the 2010s. The main piece of evidence feminists pointed to as evidence of the campus crisis was the infamous 1 in 5 claim. That is, 1 in 5 women on American college campuses were sexually assaulted over the course of their degree. This claim emerged from one study, conducted online in 2007 at 2 universities. The study was anonymous, participants' claims were not verified, and the terms used in the survey were not defined. The authors of the survey then looked at the participant responses and made unilateral judgments about which of the participants they, the authors, believed were victims of, quote, non-consensual or unwanted sexual contact. By that criteria, a drunk guy bumping into a girl on a dance floor could constitute sexual assault. The authors decided that 19% of the participants had experienced sexual assault. Round up a little for good measure, and there you have it. 1 in 5 women sexually assaulted on American campuses. Once feminists and leftist politicians became aware of the survey, they ran with it. The resulting moral panic got so bad that the study's authors publicly publicly stated that it was inappropriate to make the 1 in 5 claim based on their study. According to the US Bureau of Justice Statistics, 1 in 52.6 college women are victims of sexual assault over the course of their degree, meaning women are actually safer in college than outside college. Thousands of young men had their lives ruined during the campus hysteria. Check out the story of the Duke lacrosse hoax of 2006 for a typical example. Just to emphasize the damage done to young men by false accusations, here's a quote from a blog post titled "College Kangaroo Courts: Why Students Wrongfully Accused by Schools of Can and Should Use the Courts to Fight Back," published by Spinell and Associates Attorney at Law. Quote, "One Maryland-based group that exposes hoax found that between 1993 and 2015, approximately 70% of lawsuits brought against colleges by wrongfully accused young men were decided in their favor by verdicts or outright settlements." End quote. In non-legal language, 70% of college sexual assault accusations were provably bullshit. I wonder how much of the remaining 30% were also bullshit. The 1 in 5 claim had already been thoroughly discredited by the time Promising Young Woman came out. Keep that in mind as we examine this vile filth. The opening line makes the film's theme explicit.
Fuck her! Fuck her.
This is a movie about how men treat women as contemptuous objects of sexual gratification. The misogynistic trio see Carrie wasted on the club couch and comment on how hard it's making them.
She's kind of hot. I mean, that is just asking for it.
So generic office guy is taking Carrie home in an Uber, but decides that actually she wants to go to his place because white middle-class men in suits are notoriously the rapiest demographic. Office guy starts non-consensually sucking Carrie's face, then throws her onto the bed, jumps on top of her, and begins kissing and undressing her. But then she reverses his assault.
What are you doing?
Come in. Where you been?
The next scene insinuates that Carrie has murdered the man. By the way, the music in this movie is absolute bollocks. This is a feminist movie, and in feminist movies, construction workers catcall women.
Oh, you got fries with that? If I said you had a hot body, would you hold it against me?
So some construction workers catcall Carrie.
Let's go straight up. There you go.
Also, this is feminist propaganda, and in feminist propaganda, men insist that women smile for them.
Give us a smile, look.
Sorry?
Yeah, you look better when you smile.
So the men insist that Carrie smile. You know what's worse than the blatant feminist propaganda? The sheer fucking laziness. I can respect propaganda I disagree with. Adolescence is a great example. A textbook government psyop designed to make a white boy the face of violence against women in Britain. Hideous reality inversion propaganda, but so well done. I admire the craft and the effort that went into that piece. Promising Young Woman is zero effort bilge. We're not even 10 minutes in, and this thing is already tropier than a gassed up mid-tier slag trying desperately to be a Coachella influencer. Carrie goes home and adds a notch to her serial killer trophy book. We learn that this promising young woman still lives with her parents at the age of 30, and she works at a cafe. The filmmakers are worried that Carrie isn't quite unlikable enough yet, so Carrie refuses service to a customer because the customer interrupted her conversation.
Great, can I get
No.
Kathy.
Don't.
Carrie meets Mr. Perfect, and he is fucking insufferable. If you ever wonder why the word millennial became an insult, this guy is the reason.
I didn't mean... that was rude. No, I just meant there's no getting out of this, is there?
Nuh-uh.
I'm gonna leave. Can I leave and then come back? And I can do it. I can do it again. And you can spit in it if you want. I deserve that.
Fake, insincere, excessively self-deprecating, over-polite, fidgety, and he also has that grating millennial speech pattern where they speak in multiple syllable bursts with irritating pauses in between.
I'm back because I think you gave me a fake number the other day.
Carrie's next victim is McLovin. He tries to force her to do coke because that's a thing that happens. Then he does the male feminist play.
It's just this soul-sucking system meant to oppress women. It's fucked up.
She asks for a cab, McLovin refuses, etc. You've seen this scene already. Carrie confronts him and warns him not to harass drunk women. Funny enough, this movie does hit upon a certain type of predatory tactic. In the UK, certain types of individuals, usually described by the British media as men, hang around outside nightclubs waiting for drunk girls to come out. Then they grab the girls and try to bring them to a secluded area for cultural enrichment. But shockingly, McLovin doesn't look anything like these men. Not long after, Millennial Dickhead is back and he's still skull-fucking my ears with that insufferable cadence.
Surprisingly into it. It was like, so I thought I'd try you again.
He even does rising cadences at the end of his sentences so that everything he says sounds like a question.
The guy who got his dick trapped in a tambourine.
That speech pattern indicates that the speaker is a validation seeker. This headache-inducing gimp even uses the word like as a filler word.
It's like a fear I have in public. My fear is that, like, if I kiss her, like, people will be like,
yeah, like totally. And so like we really hope you like it because like we like it.
I despise Carey Mulligan in this movie, but I am actually rooting for her to kill this guy. Carey starts seeing Millennial, and he tells her that his friend Al is getting married. Carey recognizes Al as one of the guys who struggle-snuggled her friend in college. Carey invites Al's intended to catch up over lunch. Carey gets the fiancé drunk and gives her a purity test, but the fiancé fails.
If you have a reputation for sleeping around, then maybe people aren't going to believe you when you say something's happened.
Sorry, for your sake, I was hoping you'd feel different by now.
Carey leaves and pays a male escort to pick up the fiancée and take her to a room in the hotel. Next on Carey's hit list is the dean of the college, who didn't believe the alleged victim. So Carey tricks the dean's daughter into thinking Carey is a makeup artist for a famous band and kidnaps her. Then she goes to the dean's office, where the movie presents a fantasy version of American colleges as bastions of sexual abuse, where leadership is indifferent to the suffering of women.
So you're happy to take the boy's word for it? I have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Carey presents her friend's accusations as evidence.
He had sex with her repeatedly and in front of his friends.
Carey doesn't understand the basic legal principle that an accusation is not evidence. She brings no evidence at all to substantiate her accusations. But in her mind, the dean is in the wrong for not believing all women, because as former prostitute and convicted murderer Crystal Magnum proved when she accused the Duke lacrosse team, women never lie. So Carey tells the dean that she has kidnapped the dean's daughter and given her daughter to some white frat boys.
I picked your daughter Amber up from school and introduced her to the boys who live in that room now.
And of course the dean is sent into a panic, because what woman wouldn't panic when she learns that her daughter has been handed over to the rapiest demographic, white college kids?
Tell me what fucking room she's in.
Okay, hold on. I need to take a brief break to execute this character. Not for kidnapping or murder or entrapment or blackmail, but for sheer smugness. Smug emanates from this creature like stink from an open sewer on a midsummer's day. Mr. Reflection, proceed with the execution.
Jax wins.
It was magical.
In the next scene, Carey is zoning out in the middle of the road, and a toxic white man pulls up and starts giving her lip. So she smashes up his car, and he drives off with his tailpipe between his legs. For some bizarre reason, the music in this scene is the finale of Tristan und Isolde by Wagner. I mean, the scene is just an I am woman, hear me roar cliche, but 10 out of 10 for the music. They use an incredible piece of classical music that hasn't been turned into an insufferable cliche by endless reuse in crap movies and bread tube video essays. What happens when you take a 208-year-old novel and marry it to the vision of an art house master at the height of her creative genius? Or, to put another way, how does a modern director reframe the audience relationship to art that has become over-adapted to the point of self-parody? This video was originally supposed to be about a movie, but as I rewatched Maggie Gyllenhaal's Bride for the 7th time, I realized something. This is so much more than a movie. The Bride is a fulcrum which redirects the gravitational curve of film and literary criticism around itself. The word masterpiece doesn't even begin to express the importance and depth of this seminal work. Okay, let's summarize the rest of this bollocks so we can be done with it. Carrie does her entrapment trap again, but Millennial catches her in the act, and her victim, the black finance bro from the start, recognizes her, so she threatens him. Carrie goes to Doc Ock's house. Doc Ock is the lawyer that got Al off after Al was accused of captaining the team building exercise against Carrie's friend. Doc Ock has gone crazy from the guilt of defending men in court. He confesses everything and complains about the misogyny of modern society.
One drunk photo at a party. Oh, you wouldn't believe how hostile that makes a jury.
He also explains that he deeply regrets defending young men from accusations of sexual assault.
I'll never forgive myself.
So Carrie magnanimously calls off the hitman she hired to murder Doc Ock. Millennial, after seeing Carrie get picked up by another man, takes Carrie back, presumably under advice from his wife's boyfriend. So Millennial and Carrie have a rom-com montage. After that, Al's fiance contacts Carrie, and conveniently, she has come across a video of the gang ravishment of Carrie's friend, because white jocks are known for filming such activities on American college campuses. Boys will be boys. Am I right, boys?
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
She gives the video to Carrie, and it turns out that Millennial is in the video, cheering on the team. So it turns out that all men are evil after all. There are no good ones. They're all evil, even the self-deprecating millennial male feminist simp cucks. Carrie blackmails the location of Al's bachelor party out of Millennial. She goes there, pretends to be a stripper, takes Al to bed where she ties him up and tries to kill him. Al gets free, leading to promising young woman's one good moment. Al's friend finds Al with Carrie's corpse the next morning, so he and Al burn the body, as you do. What happens in Vegas, right boys?
Boys will be boys.
At Al's wedding, the toxically masculine men are all celebrating, but one final twist is revealed. Before she went to the bachelor party, Carrie sent the video of the frat house team building exercise to Doc Ock, with instructions that he make it public. So Doc Ock uploads the video to the internet, the police arrive at the wedding and arrest all the evil white male and Millennial receives a scheduled mocking message from Carrie just before he is led away in cuffs. So a few problems here. What if Al hadn't killed Carrie? For example, he gets free, grabs her, screams for the boys, they arrive, call the cops, and the cops arrest Carrie. That's a much more likely scenario. Or what if Doc Ock was lying about his regret and doesn't release the video? Why does Carrie go through this elaborate setup and twist bollocks? If you want these guys arrested, just release the video yourself, wanker. Instead of setting yourself up as a feminist martyr, breaking your parents' hearts and leaving them immiserated for the little time they have left on this planet. Promising young woman romanticizes self-eradication, glorifies sexual entrapment of men, and justifies blackmail and kidnapping. In the minds of the filmmakers, Carrie is not a villain. She's not even morally grey. She is a feminist hero, striking back at a patriarchal society that preys upon women and refuses justice to victims. The movie portrays all men as evil. The only man whose existence can even be tolerated is one who has accepted his original sin of being born male and literally begs for forgiveness. So naturally, Hollywood showered promising young woman with awards. The movie got 89 nominations and 33 wins. It received 5 Oscar nominations at the 2021 Academy Awards, including a Best Picture nomination. This despicable piece of garbage won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, a category in which it beat Sound of Metal. A poorly written, cliched feminist diatribe stole an Oscar from one of the best movies of the decade. The Academy repeated the exact same crime a year later when Top Gun Maverick lost Best Adapted Screenplay to Women Talking.
I would rather stand my ground and shoot each man in the heart and bury him in a pit than flee.
If you thought Women Talking was bad, just wait for the sequel, Women Driving. Hey, old hag! Hey, hag! Hey! Why were the women and children evacuated from the Titanic first? So the men could have 5 minutes of peace before they died. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I think women are terrible at multitasking. I told one to sit down and shut up once, and she couldn't do either. Hey, Jessie Buckley. Hey, Jessie. I was horrified when I saw that your husband had battered you. I mean, come on, man. If you're going to batter your wife, at least throw in a side of chips. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. When P. Diddy told me he beat cancer, I replied, "That's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear it. But why is your girlfriend's nickname Cancer?" Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Despite being publicly filleted by the establishment, Promising Young Woman was a hard flop at the box office, making less than $19 million on a $10 million budget. Shockingly, audiences did not want to line up for a feminist indoctrination seminar masquerading as entertainment. Promise me you'll never watch Promising Young Woman. No video about Hollywood feminist slime would be complete without a superhero movie. You remember superhero movies? The ones where actors dressed in children's Halloween costumes fly around fighting CGI blobs. By the end of its life cycle, the superhero genre had become rotten to its bones with girl bosses. There are many movies that could occupy this portion of the video. Fortunately, I didn't have to decide which. In a channel post, I asked my subscribers which movies they wanted to see reviewed in this video, and one of the most requested movies was Birds of Prey. Before we get into the review, I want to take a moment to thank all my subscribers who responded to that post, and to say to everyone who voted for me to watch Birds of Prey, fuck you. I wasted 1 hour and 12 minutes of my life attempting to watch that bollocks. I couldn't finish it. I have watched countless hours of awful movies and shows for this channel, and I could not finish Birds of Prey. The movie is exhaustingly bad, obnoxiously loud. The music is nails on chalkboard blasted through a shitty guitar amp with distortion turned up to 11. The pacing manages to be both frantic and sluggish. The cinematography is hideous. The plot is incomprehensible. The whole thing is sadistically misandrist. Character likability hovers somewhere between Jimmy Savile and Amber Heard. Birds of Prey gave me a headache, which is why I had to turn it off. A modern movie trope I discuss in my Disney Star Wars trilogy videos is the Yap Yap trope. When the Rey crew land in the generic system, they discover an alien festival, a perfect opportunity for the movie to rest so the audience can absorb the vibe of the festival. Instead, yap yap yap.
What is this?
The Aki Festival of the Ancestors. This celebration occurs.
Here's a more recent example from Mando and Grok.
No, don't touch the missile battery switch. That's why there's a safety guard on it. Do you see the fuel readout display? Remember I showed you that one?
This problem has been getting worse and now infects all forms of media. Gamers have been making parodies of the Yap Yap trope with "If X was a modern game" videos.
Link, be careful! Remember, any enemies that you fight, you can see their information on the start screen.
You doing okay, Link?
This place gives me the creeps.
Link, the 4 ghosts have taken the 4 flames of Glomban. You must find them. Call me if you need me. Link, there's a gold skeleton.
I can sense a skeleton nearby.
Make sure to collect that gold skeleton.
Birds of Prey is Yap Yap the movie. It has 3 volume settings. Loud, this is when characters are yapping inanely.
Acupuncture model too?
He is not an acupuncture model. This is a statue of me. It was made by a very famous Gotham artist.
Harley Quinn did.
Very loud, this is when men are sent flying 20 feet across a room by a 100-pound woman to the accompaniment of auditory feces masquerading as music. The movie's 3rd volume setting is "Do you ever shut the fuck up?" Birds of Prey's editing is clearly influenced by TikTok. The already hideous visuals have unicorn-colored text frequently vomited over them. These disgusting visuals are accompanied by road drill needle drops that persist throughout the movie.
I just fucking had it.
The songs are long since forgotten, short of the moment chart slop. I did not recognize a single song or artist. The movie soundtrack reads like a who's who of...
Who the fuck is that guy?
The songs and artists featured on Birds of Prey are Boss Bitch by Doja Cat, Diamonds by Megan Thee Stallion and Normani, Sway With Me by Saweetie and Galaxar A8, Experiment on Me by Halsey, Bad Memory by K.Flay, Invisible Chains by Lauren Juigui, Lonely Gun by Sin, It's a Man's Man World by Journey Smollett Bell, aka Black Canary, Danger by Juicy Fruit.
It's just a shame you missed out on rock and roll. It's over. Over. It's over.
Birds of Prey's casting is atrocious. There's a detective played by some old lady who looks like a scrotum that grew a body. She's dreadful. She looks ridiculous trying to do action, and she has less emotional range than a comatose Gal Gadot.
Are you against me too? Are you? Yes or no?
Ewan McGregor is horribly miscast as a sexually ambiguous, campy villain. This is the worst performance I have ever seen from him.
Blah blah fake fucking fucks.
There's some chubby Asian girl who plays an insufferable thieving brat. She's terrible. She spends the entire movie looking bored. Apart from Harley, the character with the most screen time is Septum Ring Girl Boss. This actress is aura farming in every one of her scenes, trying to look like a nonchalant boss bitch who's just too cool for it all. Her entire performance stinks of desperation and try hard. Margot Robbie turns it up to 11 for the entire movie. It's an exhaustingly loud performance, though that has more to do with the character than the actress. The concept of Harley Quinn as a lead character simply doesn't work. Harley Quinn is a secondary character that plays well off the Joker. She is a functional supporting character, not a lead. She's like Joey from Friends, decent comic relief when used sparingly, quite insufferable when used a lot. Making a Harley Quinn solo movie is like making a Joey TV show. Thank God that never happened. To use a food analogy, Harley is like mustard on a hot dog. Great when used moderately. Birds of Prey is a giant plate of mustard. But of course, the whole point of this movie is that she don't need no man. The idea that any female character should play second fiddle to a man is intolerable. So Birds of Prey set out to prove that Harley could go it alone. Indeed, that is the premise of the movie. Harley Quinn has broken up with the Joker, who we never see. He doesn't get 1 second of screen time. So she sets out to prove that she can thrive on her own. The plot of Birds of Prey is a total mess. Fundamentally, it's a MacGuffin chase. All the characters are chasing a diamond because the diamond contains the code to a bank account or something. I'm not sure, and I'm not checking to find out. The movie seems to be a rip-off of Snatch. Lots of quirky characters all go on a hunt for the same priceless diamond. It even has an evil crime lord played by a British actor, and the characters have funny nicknames that flash up on screen during a freeze frame. And there's a scene in which the crime lord captures a character and he's about to kill the character, but then...
4 days. You give us 4 days and I will get you a stone the size of a fucking home. I kid you not.
What do you think, Errol? I think we should drip dry him, Governor.
You lost something, I heard you say it. A diamond. I know the East End better than anybody. You want this diamond back? I'm your gal. If you let me go, I'll get you that rock back.
Now, I'm not accusing the writer of Birds of Prey, Christina Hodson, of plagiarism. I think this is a case of cryptomnesia, memory mistaken for original thought. Most songwriters will experience cryptomnesia in their early songs. It looks something like this. Caracalla, I wrote a song. That's great, Getta. Let's hear it. She's eclectic. She plays the drums and the flute and the electric guitar. My guess is that Christina Hodson watched Snatch at some point and subconsciously copied and pasted a vastly inferior version of it into her script. Or maybe she flat out plagiarized Scratch, who cares? An aspect of Birds of Prey that I found particularly grating was the use of millennial meta-humor. In its lowest form, millennial meta-humor is fourth wall breaking trope callouts.
She's in your heart. She's with us wherever we go.
I'm sorry, but that's seriously? In your heart?
That's the most cornball thing I've ever heard you say, Pax.
Wherever we go. Really? Really? That's what...
Velma did this a lot.
In the storytelling business, this dummy swallowing that diamond is called a complication.
This is such a millennial thing to do. The movie is insincere, kind of embarrassed of itself, and making fun of itself, because if it makes fun of itself, no one else can. This is the screenwriting equivalent of that guy you used to work with, who had a carefully styled hipster mustache, corny tattoos, and always wore an ironic t-shirt. He was terrified that if he was just unapologetically himself, the world would make fun of him, that people wouldn't like the real him, so he hid behind a facade of self-mockery. It is truly pathetic behaviour. Even the title of the movie, The Fantabulous Fantrabulum of One Bizazzy Harley Quinn, or whatever it's called, is a form of self-mocking meta-humour. Look at how campy, corny and silly we are. Fuck off. Much of the fourth wall breaks in Birds of Prey take the form of redundant narration.
Canary spends the next week settling into her new job as Roman's personal driver.
Yes, I know that movie. I can see her driving. I have eyes.
What she didn't know is that driving Mr. Face Peely Pants was gonna put her right in the crosshairs of my favorite little piggy.
I know, movie. I was not under the illusion that Septum Ring can predict the future. Also, you don't need to tell me that Detective Scrotum is interested in speaking with her, because I can see Detective Scrotum asking to speak with her. That's only 2 examples, but there are many, many more throughout the movie. The girl boss fight choreography in Birds of Prey is among the worst I've seen. At least in The Woman King, the movie can pretend that the Amazons have been made super powerful by the mystical ways of Dahomey training. Birds of Prey offers no explanation at all for why Harley Quinn is suddenly a martial arts expert, able to destroy multiple male attackers twice her size and 4 times her strength. She just can. No explanation offered. The filmmakers seem to think that going crazy makes you a good fighter, as if the only thing holding women back from becoming ass-kicking girl bosses is social inhibition. A particularly feminist aspect of Birds of Prey is the sheer joy the movie takes in humiliating men and laughing at their pain.
You broke my fucking legs!
Oh, boo-hoo.
Oh look, a man attempting to initiate a romantic encounter with a woman. I wonder what will happen next. I would ask why Septum Ring is a martial arts expert. I thought she was just a singer, but she's a woman. There. Being a woman is a superpower in this movie. Birds of Prey contains possibly the worst chase sequence I have ever seen. Harley Quinn runs off and Detective Scrotum gives chase. Watching this wrinkly wee ballsack try to run convincingly was vaguely amusing, but it also made me spare a thought for the action choreographers. Those guys are trying their best to make this dog water potable, and they can't point out how pathetic Sackface looks trying to run down a fleeing suspect, because if they do, they're sexists and they never work in Hollywood again. I miss when chase sequences required genuine athleticism from actors. Birds of Prey introduces a 4th girl boss around the 1 hour mark, but I was so checked out by that point that it would have taken Shannon Elizabeth's tits to get me to perk up even slightly. Girl boss number 4 kills a few men, and the remaining 10 minutes that I suffered through is really just a blur. Another massive problem with Birds of Prey is that the movie is appallingly structured. It jumps constantly between the past and the present, so the present narrative is never able to build any momentum. Just as you're getting confused about what's going on in the present, the movie jump cuts to the past, leaving you even more confused. The narrative quickly turns into a barely comprehensible ruin. For the first 30 minutes of this mess, I had no idea what the hell was going on. From scene to scene, I wasn't sure if the narrative was in the present or the past. The only thing I was sure about was that everyone was after a diamond for some reason. Character backstories make the already incomprehensible narrative even more muddled. Every major character gets a little narrated backstory. This was obviously intended to set up spin-off movies and shows, which never happened because Birds of Prey bombed. The movie had a production budget of $100 million and marketing costs of $100 million. It made $205 million at the box office and another $30 million on premium video on demand. Birds of Prey was released at the start of COVID, which was Warner Brothers' go-to excuse for the movie's failure. But no amount of COVID cope could change the fact that Birds of Prey was an appalling movie. To quote Mick LaSalle, who published a review of the movie in the San Francisco Chronicle, "Movies don't get any worse than Birds of Prey. This is the bottom." In that review, Mick correctly stated, "It should not exist." Birds of Prey failed so badly that Warner Bros. Did a full strategy overhaul of the DC Extended Universe as it was then known. The highest profile casualties of the Birds of Prey disaster were Wonder Woman 3 and Batgirl. Batgirl had completed filming but was scrapped as a tax write-off, though I pray that a leaked version of Batgirl shows up online someday. Warner's strategy shift did not work. Birds of Prey was so bad that it caused irreversible brand damage to the DC Extended Universe, and the next 7 DC EU releases all bombed. Birds of Prey kicked off the worst run of franchise failures in Hollywood history. 8 consecutive DC EU box office bombs. The 7 that followed Birds of Prey were Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad, Black Adam, Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 3. The biggest of those box office bombs was The Flash, which was written by Christina Hodson, the writer of Birds of Prey. Hodson has not had any screenplays produced since The Flash. The direction on Birds of Prey was awful. Acting, casting, visuals, fight choreography, script, pacing, editing, music, action sequences, every major element of the film was disastrous. Birds of Prey was directed by Kathy Yan, a Chinese director who, prior to helming the $100 million production, had directed one movie. A Chinese indie movie called Dead Pigs, which was released to a British streaming service called Mubi in 2021, 3 years after Dead Pigs' festival debut. When Kathy Yan was hired by Warner Bros. To direct Birds of Prey, she did not have a single movie on any digital platform. Now, I am not the world's greatest detective. That would be Chris Stuckman's Batman.
You thought a pair of glasses could fool the world's greatest. The world's greatest detective.
Despite my lack of formal detective training, I suspect that Kathy Yan might have been a diversity hire. If you're interested, Kathy Yan's follow-up to Birds of Prey is coming out this year, titled The Gallerist. The movie stars Natalie Portperson. The plot evolves around a piece of sculpture art called The Emasculator. The movie debuted at Sundance in January. The Hollywood Reporter called the film clumsy and inert on screen. The Guardian opined that The Gallerist is, quote, a major stumble. The Gallerist currently holds a 54% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Will The Gallerist be this summer's surprise smash hit?
Only time will tell.
Another popular request from the aforementioned channel post was Mulan 2020. This movie was the result of a close collaboration between Disney and the Xinjiang concentration camp administration authorities. Disney were so pleased with the working relationship they developed with the CCP concentration camp authorities in Xinjiang that Disney made sure to thank the CCP concentration camp authorities in the credits of Mulan. According to The Guardian, Disney were, quote, unapologetic over Mulan credit thanking Chinese Communist Party. Disney worked closely with the authorities, keeping an estimated 1 million Uyghurs imprisoned, to create a movie which moralizes constantly about the evils of oppression.
Chi is for warriors, not daughters.
Mulan is Disney girl boss trash at its most boilerplate. The movie epitomizes the girl boss character arc. Mulan starts the movie as a filial, powerful girl boss and finishes the movie as a filial, powerful girl boss. Only one change is required of her. She must embrace her power. She must reject her socially conditioned inhibitions and ascend to her destiny as a powerful girl boss. She must accept the power that was within her all along. In the girl boss variant of the hero's journey, the character arc is given not to the hero, but to society. The hero stays the same, perfect in her girl boss perfection. It is society that must change in order to accommodate the aspirations of the girl boss. At the start of Mulan, women are chattel to be given away in marriage. Their lot in life is to bow, bend over, clean, and pour tea. But Mulan is too powerful for all that because she has chi. Chi is the Disney version of the Force, a female energy which causes women to be all-powerful without the need for training or exertion. Mulan shows off her chi, but is scolded for it because patriarchy. But by the end of the movie, Mulan's father apologizes to her for not acknowledging her power.
One warrior knows another.
The king changes the law to allow Mulan to become a great general. She is presented with a sword and celebrated by her village. Mulan has single-handedly updated ancient China for a modern audience. The worst change between the real Mulan and Mulan 2020 is Qi. In the real movie, Mulan is not possessed of some mystical female power that comes with a free t-shirt. She's just a normal girl, but she uses her intelligence and wits to pass the basic training that would have been impossible had she relied only on her physical strength. Mulan's lack of physical strength or power is a major character asset. She took her father's place in war despite her physical weakness. That is what makes her a hero. She chooses to sacrifice herself to save her father. In the live-action Abomination, the presence of Qi ruins all of that. You could call Qi by another name. Plot armor. Remade Mulan doesn't have too much to worry about going to war because she has Qi. No mere man can hurt her. So her going to war in place of her father is less a heroic sacrifice and more an obvious choice. By making remade Mulan more powerful, Disney strips the character of her innate heroism. Remade Mulan going to war is no longer a choice of heroic sacrifice, but an act of opportunism. This is her chance to escape the fate of women, to seek out the adventure, glory, and carnage she has always craved. Power does not equate to heroism. A physically imposing bully is not a hero. The weakling who stands up to him is. But feminism rejects this view. In feminism's view, there is only power. The power of many. Also, we didn't need a movie about a young, beautiful Chinese girl who secretly possesses an immense power and who is about to be given away in marriage, which causes her to run away to a life of adventure. That movie already exists. It's called Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it's one of the best movies of this century. There are some key girl boss movie tropes in Mulan that I want to highlight. These are The Awakening, male humiliation, female sexlessness, cheat codes, social ascent. In The Awakening, the girl boss awakens to her true power and proceeds to beat up and or kill men. Here is The Awakening in The Girl Boss Awakens. Here is The Awakening in Captain Marvel. And here is The Awakening in Mulan 2020. Humiliating a man is standard for any girl boss movie.
Piss off. I heard you were quite the crusty old...
In Mulan 2020, remade Mulan humiliates a comrade in basic training after he has the temerity to challenge her abilities. Female sexlessness consists of the girl boss rejecting all forms of male sexual interest. The rejection can be mild, perhaps she merely scoffs at the very idea, or it can be public humiliation.
I'm not in love with Ken.
Or downright hostility.
Pardon me, excuse me. Hello, hi, hello everyone.
Fuck you!
Or outright violence. In Mulan 2020, remade Mulan is matched with a man. That is the only description I can give because he is never shown, but she runs away before her marriage. She also rejects a tentative approach by a male comrade after he has discovered that she is a woman. In keeping with the girl boss character template, she never so much as throws a sideways glance at a man. Cheat codes allow the girl boss to beat 9 bells of shite out of every man she comes across without explanation or effort. Rey is Luke Skywalker with the cheat codes on. Remade Mulan is Mulan with the cheat codes on. No training, no mentorship. Cheat codes on, girl boss activated. Social ascent is the girl boss's triumphant self-actualization. Leia ignores Chewie on the same day that Han Solo died, so she can give Rey a hug, despite the fact that she has never seen Rey before, because Rey is special. Rey gets the all-important mission to seek out Luke and bring him to the Resistance on the same day Leia meets her. One might think that the king would reward remade Mulan's commanding officer, General Jet Li, for the victory over the Mongols. Nope. That reward goes to Mulan, as does the recognition and social status she has long craved. By the way, what happened to that guy she was supposed to marry? Note that the only time remade Mulan is harmed, her injury comes at the hands of a woman. Chi Witch throws a dagger into her, which knocks her out for some reason, but remade wakes up to discover that her armor saved her. A woman cannot ever lose to a man. Later in the movie, for no coherent reason, the Chi Witch takes an arrow to save remade Mulan's life. Because older women are known for their fondness of younger women.
Can you get off her car?
Ma'am,
yes, you are.
Come on. 2 spots opening.
Get off her car.
This makes no sense at all. The witch's ambitions are about to be realised, and she throws herself in front of an arrow. Also, it's vital for the witch to brag that she could smash her male colleague anytime she wants.
You have proved useful, witch.
Not witch. Warrior. I could tear you to pieces before you blink.
This is a completely redundant statement. Any palace guard could, at any moment, take out his sword and lop off the king's head. The ability to kill someone does not make you more powerful than them, but pointing out your ability to kill them does mean you have an absurdly fragile ego. The editing in Mulan 2020 is dreadful. Here's 3 moments that stood out as particularly incompetent. This scene shows a clearly visible jump cut used to make the sluggish child actor appear faster and more agile. Here, the explosion of the shield square looks good, but the shot only lasts a second before cutting away to Mulan's reaction. When the camera returns to the shield square after less than a second, there's almost nothing left. A perfectly good action visual ruined by awful editing. In this third example, Mulan pulls her friend out of the avalanche. A single wide shot would have been best. Instead, she bends down nowhere near low enough to reach her friend, and a clunky close-up shows him being pulled out of the snow somehow. There's really not much else to say about Mulan 2020. It is dyed in the woke Disney lore garbage. The movie hits every predictable girl boss beat you expect from modern Disney. Audiences hated it, giving it 46% on Rotten Tomatoes and 2.9 on Metacritic. Mulan 2020 was a box office disaster. Disney delayed the movie 4 times before cancelling the American theatrical release due to COVID. Disney were banking on a big box office in China, but the movie absolutely cratered in the Chinese market, grossing a pathetic $40.7 million, and Disney only got 1/4 of that. The box office split for American studios in China is 75-25. Mulan currently sits at number 16 in Wikipedia's list of biggest box office bombs, with an estimated loss of $175 million. In addition to the massive and much deserved financial losses, Disney got a public relations headache from Mulan 2020. The company was heavily criticized for collaborating with the CCP's concentration camp authorities while making the movie. Mulan 2020 did at least get an Academy Award nomination. It was nominated for Best Supporter of CCP Genocide, an achievement celebrated by this Tibetan man standing in Times Square. Mulan 2020 was a critical, commercial, and PR disaster, a just end to an unjust endeavour. Mulan live action Abomination. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one goes out to all the Uyghurs in the CCP concentration camps. Disney are an evil pack of wankers. Charlie's Angels 2019 is an infamous box office bomb written and directed by Elizabeth Banks. Her reboot of the franchise is a textbook example of the update for a modern audience. The good Charlie's Angels, the one released in 2000, was fun, sexy, and entertaining. The girls were smoking hot, everyone was having a good time. The bad Charlie's Angels is boring, sexless, and turgid. The girls are 3 gassed up mids you wouldn't look at twice in a nightclub, and the movie is filled to overflowing with man-hating feminist spite. Charlie's Angels 19 is a hodgepodge of dated spy tropes, feminist strawmen, violent misandry, self-indulgent fashion shoots, pathetic girl boss fight choreography, and inane yapping. The plot is a MacGuffin hunt. Charlie's Angels has essentially the same plot as Birds of Prey. There's a MacGuffin, everyone's chasing it, so the girls have to team up to stop the men getting their hands on the MacGuffin. The girl bosses beat up and humiliate lots of men, they casually murder a few men, but whatever, collateral damage, right? All the men are evil, except 2, who are both cucks. There are 4 types of men in Charlie's Angels: patriarchs, creeps, cucks, and NPCs. Patrick Stewart is a patriarch. He built the agency into what it is, but is forced into retirement because he's old. In a fit of vengeance, he goes solo and steals the MacGuffin so he can sell it as a weapon. The president of the company that builds the MacGuffin is a creep. He actually touches a woman. But it's okay, because the script kills him later.
Hacker.
That guy that played Jay Kulina in Kingdom is an NPC. He's basically Oddjob from Goldfinger. He exists to kill, though he does say one word in the movie. Bitch. By the way, Jay was the best character in Kingdom by far, and in the 4th and final season, the showrunners turned him from an ambitious MMA fighter into a realtor. A fucking realtor. That was the worst character downgrade since Achilles went from a golden-haired Brad Pitt to that. Oh Jesus, that movie's gonna be awful, isn't it? By the way, if you're watching this video after September 2026, I'm planning to do a video reviewing all Christopher Nolan's movies, so be sure to check that video out if you would like my detailed thoughts on The Odyssey. Cuck with a Q is a cuck. Cuck is a cuck version of Q from James Bond. He builds weapons for the girl bosses, but he also furnishes them with fashionable, healthsome spreads. Cuck also stocks walk-in closets filled with garish slag rags that wouldn't look out of place at the Black Box in Belfast on a Friday night, and he asks consent to touch a woman.
I would love to apply a firm touch to your back. Do you consent?
He also provides therapy services to help the girl bosses work through any trauma that the job might cause them.
If you ever need to talk, I'm also a licensed psychotherapist.
Now obviously these women wouldn't touch Cuck with a 10-foot Japanese spider crab, but they do at least treat him better than the women in Women Talking treat their Cuck.
Let's move on to the cons of leaving.
We the women will decide what happens in these meetings. I'm not a two-bit fail farmer who must teach. You have been invited here. Just listen.
I would like to apologize.
The girl bosses all have the same abilities. Ass-kicking, quip-quipping, gun-swinging, man-out-thinking, dick-shrinking girl bosses. They even have the same fighting style. Bruiser. These tiny women fight like big, meaty bruisers. They get close to their opponents and simply out-muscle them through sheer girl boss tenacity. In addition to sharing abilities and fighting style, the girl bosses have the same personality. Snarky, quippy, millennial, overconfident, in-yo-face, nonchalant, slay queen boss bitches.
I recall her pushing me off a roof.
I recall it was time to go.
Effectively, the girl bosses are all the same character. They look, sound, fight, talk, and act the same. This ensures a total lack of chemistry and dramatic dynamism between the movie's 3 leads. Early on, there's an attempt to create a conflict between Kristen Stewart and Brown Girlboss.
Is it June?
Jane.
Oh, Jane. Jane, not the month.
But it is entirely unconvincing and fizzles out quickly because these two women are the same character. Both even have that same lazy, faux world-weary body language. The movie is also clearly a vanity platform for Elizabeth Banks. She shows up throughout the movie looking like a random page from a women's fashion magazine in each of her scenes. Banks' hair, makeup and wardrobe alone probably made up a considerable portion of the production budget. Banks plays Bosley, the girl boss's handler. Bosley isn't a name anymore, it's a rank, because the character of Bosley needed to be updated for a modern audience, so the old man Bosley is fired and turned into a villain, and the new woman Bosley takes her rightful place in his post. Elizabeth Banks' idea of empowered women is sexless, single, childless mercenaries who travel the world in decadent luxury and occasionally take time away from their forever vacation to wipe out a few men. They have everything provided for them by a meek slave, and any innocents killed as a result of their mercenary activity is shrugged off as
collateral damage.
Charlie's Angels 2019 is drowning in feminist sewage. The opening line is,
I think women can do anything.
Wait, women can think? Well, women did write, direct, produce, and star in Charlie's Angels 2019, and that was a huge success, right?
Just because they can doesn't mean they should.
Based. Then Kristen Stewart reveals that the meaning of life is to pursue selfish hedonism.
Live our heart's desires. And that's the kind of world I want to live in.
Also, she speaks Portuguese.
But és dona de casa.
Não é nada do irado, é ser dona de casa.
Because of course she does. That's another major problem with Charlie's Angels 19. The girl bosses are all Mary Sues. There is no language they cannot speak, no 200-pound stuntman they cannot overpower, no weapon they cannot wield, no computer they cannot hack, no animal they cannot ride, no danger they cannot overcome, no target they cannot hit, no simp they cannot seduce. Elizabeth Banks refuses to place any limitations on her girl bosses, and the result is a total lack of stakes, and fight scenes that are more predictable than John Boyega's next interview. What's that, John? A tedious word salad featuring the words racism and Star Wars? A tiny brown girl boss shows up and her first move is to shoulder charge a 200-pound bodyguard into the dirt, where he belongs. That action beat sets the tone for the action in this movie. The girl bosses just slug their way through any meal-shaped obstacle that gets in their way. Kristen Stewart suggests that perhaps brown girl boss might want to have sex.
Letting someone play with your,
Notice that Kristen Stewart says someone, not some guy. Very inclusive. But brown girl boss is too feminist to require the sexual attention of a man.
I have fun in my own ways.
Mr. Alpha shoves the filthy soles of his shoes into the face of brilliant female science genius as he mansplains her own area of expertise to her.
When incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me.
Female science genius warns the patriarch of the dangers of the male ego, but he refuses to listen.
And we both know how dangerous that could be.
Well, I mean, you don't know what I know.
Mr. Alpha Male makes a sexist comment during a presentation of the MacGuffin.
It can be manufactured in pastel colors for the ladies.
In a subtle hint that female Bosley may have terrorist links, she shows up paying tribute to Jerry Adams.
I will not condemn the IRA. The IRA is quite legitimate.
Creepy security guard sees that a girl he has his eye on has just come into work, so of course he uses this as an opportunity to get a bit of groping on the go. Then Creep tells girl boss to smile because in feminist propaganda men tell women they should smile.
Don't forget to smile, yeah?
Yeah, you look better when you smile.
But it's okay because Creep gets murdered later on as punishment for telling a woman to smile. In order to steal the MacGuffin, the girl bosses all wear the same wig, then walk into MacGuffin Manufacturers Incorporated and steal the MacGuffin. The moronic male guards can't catch the thief because they keep changing direction to run after the decoys.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Elizabeth Banks walks around Istanbul wearing a hijab to demonstrate that she is not just fashionable and cosmopolitan, but also tolerant, worldly, and open-minded. May all peoples of the West be blessed with such tolerant open-mindedness, inshallah.
Inshallah, I hope so.
So wait, the writer, director, and producer of a girl boss feminist movie goes out of her way to wear a hijab in the movie, endorsing an Islamic practice that actively oppresses women by forcing them to cover up in public. By the way, feminism, what are your thoughts on the anti-hijab women's protests in Iran? Feminism? Feminism? Kristen Stewart is a Mary Sue, so she can ride a horse because of course she can. The girl bosses infiltrate a construction site for reasons I could not be bothered attempting to remember. They knock out a guard in a control room and casually decide to murder him by throwing him out a window.
Should we toss him?
Yeah, let's do it.
This guy isn't guarding the lair of a supervillain. He's not a paid assassin. He's a broke-ass working stiff on shift at a factory. And these dickheads decide to toss him out a window for the lols. This is the second random stiff these wankers have murdered over the course of their private mercenary work. Can someone at MI6 please send Bond in to deal with this coven of witches?
I think women can do anything.
I never miss.
The girl bosses in Charlie's Angels are materialistic, unlikable, immoral murderesses. Any viewer in their right mind will actively be rooting against them the entire movie. Mr. Alpha shows up to sell the MacGuffin to Kristen Stewart's simp, but there's a problem.
You want me to kill somebody?
Yes. Pick anybody.
Obviously, don't pick me.
So Mr. Simp wants to casually murder someone. Mr. Alpha's crime is mansplaining, flirting with a woman, and committing a microaggression. Would you care to guess which of these characters gets a free pass and which gets executed?
You want me to kill somebody?
Yes.
He's with me now.
It can be manufactured in pastel colors for the ladies.
A £220 bodyguard goes to the computer room to capture female science genius. This girl has never even received martial arts training, and she wrecks him because...
Don't shoot.
Johnny Australia, the pleasure is all yours.
Yeah, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Once again, the pleasure was all yours.
Kirsten Stewart wrestles a retired heavyweight MMA fighter to the ground, KOs him with some ground and pound, then stamps on his balls. I have run out of adjectives to describe this kind of girl boss fight choreography, so instead of engaging in a futile attempt to verbally deride this fucking trash, here is a clip of an orangutan driving a golf cart. 3 minutes after their fight started, the computer programmer is still kicking the bodyguard's ass. Mr. Reflection, if you would. Then she knocks him out by pushing a chair at him.
But Cats Don't Zig is charging hard and drawing clear to win the Ostrich Derby.
Brown Girl Boss quips about the fragile male ego, then Girl Bosses Jay to death.
I'm a fragile ego.
You're outmanned, Angel.
Well, she may be outmanned, but this man is outwomaned. The movie ends with a cock who speaks in millennial, simping over Brown Girl Boss.
So if I'm trying to get in touch with you,
Charlie's Angels was a box office bomb and got low scores from audiences and critics. The movie killed the Charlie's Angels franchise, though Elizabeth Banks could take pride in the fact that her movie did win one award. The Alliance of Women Film Journalists gave the movie an award for sequel or remake that shouldn't have been made. That same organisation also nominated Kristen Stewart for Actress Most in Need of a New Agent. That nomination proved prophetic. After Charlie's Angels, Kristen Stewart's career tanked harder than the Red Army at the Battle of Kursk. Her immediate follow-up, Underwater, was a huge bomb. Of the 6 movies she acted in after Underwater, 6 flopped. Crimes of the Future made $4.6 million on a $27 million budget. Her last movie, Sacramento, made $706,033 at the box office. But Kristen Stewart may be about to make a career comeback. August 2026 will see the release of her directorial debut, a stoner comedy starring audience favourite Seth Rogen called The Wrong Girls. Will The Wrong Girls be the surprise smash hit of the summer?
Only time will tell.
I think women can do anything.
Do you understand my position against Professor Gelson and the ruthless misogyny of higher education?
It's consensual.
Screw you, Phil. Up in the frat house, click, click, click. What you guys do in here is sick.
Why aren't you allowed to say all this shit about men and we're supposed to just sit here and take it?
Because men have all the power.
Those clips are from a 2019 remake of a 2006 remake of a 1974 horror movie called Black Christmas. Sometimes it is necessary to dispense with flowery language, to give up any attempt to sound clever or uniquely insightful, and use blunt language to describe blunt filth. Black Christmas is woke garbage. In terms of sheer woke, Black Christmas is down there with
Dear white people!
And
Cleopatra was black.
Black Christmas is a 1.5 hour long screed, feminist propaganda from start to finish. The movie depicts what a particularly insufferable character describes as
Frat boy rape culture.
The objective of writer-director Sophia Takal is to depict college fraternity culture as patriarchal, backward dens of uniform thought, mindless conformity, and sexual predation.
creating multiple killers was a way of saying that, like, just when you think you've beaten toxic masculinity, another wave of toxic masculinity comes to the forefront. The fight for women's rights is kind of never ending.
So now such cultures do exist, but examining them is beyond the remit of this video. Hey look, a student in a hijab, how enriching. American college fraternities are not such a culture. As we already established in the Promising Young Woman section of this video, the campus hysteria was a socially engineered moral panic driven by feminists and fueled by female hysteria. It was once fashionable to pretend that female hysteria didn't exist, to belittle the medical condition as an invention of backward, patriarchal medical institutions, but then social media happened.
I'm terrified! You are the people in history they warned us about! They warned us about people like you! Wake up!
The story of Black Christmas is that Imogen Gay Poot's friend goes missing. Imogen Gay investigates and discovers that an evil frat house has murdered her friend. The frat house is using the supernatural bust of the Hawthorne College founder to possess new members, then sending those new members off to murder uppity women on behalf of the patriarchy to come. No, I am not kidding.
Upon graduation, our army will venture into courtrooms, boardrooms, and the halls of Congress to set the world right.
The black goo represents this idea of inhumanity and this idea of toxicity, that when these men get infected with toxic masculinity, it really changes their DNA, changes who they are, and turns them into monsters.
All seems lost. The world will once again fall into the chasm of patriarchy that dragged humanity from the glorious heights of the Stone Age to the miserable depths of the modern world. But then...
You messed with the wrong sisters.
The sisters battle the patriarchs, destroy the founder's bust, free the frat boys from their possession, then lock them inside the fraternity house and burn them to death? But wait, most of the fraternity members were entranced mind slaves. They were possessed. When Imogen Gay smashed the bust, the trance was broken, so many of the frat boys were freed from their possession and no longer posed a threat. The movie makes this clear. In fact, we can infer from this scene that the vast majority of these lads were not even aware of their actions while in a state of possession, so when the sisters burned down the frat house, isn't that really just murder? Before examining Black Christmas in any detail, I want to relate to you the story of a on campus. This event is named after an article published by Rolling Stone in 2014. Mr. Reflection, bit of music, gorgeous. This is a video essay, not a memorial service for Kristen Stewart's career. Rolling Stone's article asserts that members of a University of Virginia fraternity called Phi Kappa Psi had raw dog piled a student named Jackie at a campus party. The crime was part of the fraternity's initiation ritual. New pledges were instructed to violate Jackie to prove that they had what it takes to be a brother of Phi Kappa Psi. The immediate response from the UVA dean is to ban all fraternities until further notice. A protest involving hundreds of students marches across campus, stops at the Phi Kappa Psi house, and protests the, quote, culture of sexual assault at the university. The fraternity house is vandalized and many members of the fraternity receive death threats. Given the spectacular nature of the claims, more journalists soon arrive on scene, hungry for more details. These journalists quickly discover that the author of the Rolling Stone article, Sabrina Erdely, used only Jackie as her primary source for her article. She did not interview any of the alleged assailants, nor did she interview any of Jackie's 3 friends, all of whom tried to dissuade Jackie from going to the police. Soon, other details begin to emerge that contradict Jackie's accusations. There was no party held on the night that Jackie was allegedly attacked. No fraternity member matched Jackie's description. Jackie's description of the fraternity house interior was wrong. No pledges were resident in the fraternity at the time the attack allegedly took place. Quoting now from a statement released by Phi Kappa Psi, our chapters pledging and initiation periods take place solely in the spring semester and not in in the fall semester. Moreover, no ritualized sexual assault is part of our pledging or initiation process. This notion is vile, and we vehemently refute this claim. In her Rolling Stone article, Erdely named Randall, a friend of Jackie, as a source backing up Jackie's claim. When the Washington Post interviewed Randall, he said he had never spoken to Erdely.
The magazine failed to contact Jackie's alleged attackers or some of her friends who are cited in the story. Those friends later spoke to ABC News.
Yeah, the whole conversation that was described in the article absolutely never happened.
The story continued to fall apart until the shocking truth finally emerged. Jackie had lied.
I am shocked. Shocked.
And Sabrina Erdely had lied many times in her article. It later emerged that Jackie made the whole thing up in a bizarre attempt to win the sexual interest of a fellow student. Her attempt was not successful. The Columbia Journalism Review named a on campus, quote, the worst journalism of 2014. Charlottesville police conducted a 4-month-long investigation based on the allegations detailed in the Rolling Stone article. The police suspended their investigation in March 2015 because they did not find any evidence confirming the alleged attack. Rolling Stone begrudgingly retracted a on campus in April 2015, though they refused to fire Sabrina Erdely. Erdely was forced to issue a public apology, though she refused to include the fraternity and the accused fraternity members in her apology. Wait, then what the hell was the point of the apology? Who is she apologizing to, if not the young men whose lives she has attempted to destroy? Following a defamation lawsuit, Rolling Stone was ordered to pay $3 million to UVA's assistant dean and $1.65 million to members of the fraternity. In November 2016, a federal court found Erdely guilty of defamation with actual malice and found her personally responsible for $3 million in damages. According to Wikipedia, quote, as of 2021, Erdely writes for the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia and co-hosts the Jewish Philly podcast. Black Christmas opens with a quote from the founder of Hawthorne College. Man possesses powers so formidable they can only be considered supernatural. With a proper education, men can wield these powers and go forth into the world. The point the director is making here is that there is an inherent danger in educating men because educated men are more capable of using their male privilege to dominate society and thus perpetuate the patriarchy. In a subtle foreshadowing of the glorious burning to death of young, innocent men, the symbols of the fraternity are engulfed in a chroma key fire filter. In the opening scene, a college girl is stalked and murdered. This scene introduces the worst visual aspect of Black Christmas: phones. So much of this movie is college girls staring down into their phones. The audience is expected to read a vast number of texts, which are shown at a Dutch angle and a distance, making the text appear tiny. Reading these texts was such a chore that I quickly gave up even attempting to read them. This is incompetent directing at a basic level. Characters reading texts must be considered a deadly sin of directing. Phone zombies are boring to look at, and no one wants to read an endless sequence of texts. Characters on their phones is one of the worst modern movie tropes. It's important for women to shout their periods because feminism, so Imogen Gay Poot's friend asks her for a menstrual cup and shoves it right in there in front of the viewer. The leader of the evil frat house, Professor XY, reads out a passage to emphasize woman's naturally subordinate role to man.
From this defensive head magic has come the spectacular glory of male civilization, which has lifted woman with it.
The worst character by far in this movie is a horrible little woke hall monitor who I'll call Pavlik. Pavlik first shows up with a petition to get Professor XY fired for crimes against woke.
I still don't understand why you want to get him fired so bad.
His syllabus has no women on it, queer people on it, trans people on it, people of color on it.
Professor XY hasn't done anything wrong. He teaches all his classes, grades all his students' papers, and adheres to the curriculum as laid out to students before they signed up to the course. The reason Pavlik wants him fired is that the curriculum he teaches isn't sufficiently woke. This rancid wee bitch is not content merely to have the curriculum changed to inane dribble written by narcissistic identity junkies. The professor who teaches the ideologically incorrect curriculum must be purged! His life must be ruined, and he must serve as a warning to all who would dare defy woke dogma. She also has the founder's bust removed because
he owned slaves.
Awesome, Pavlik. Did you know that Muhammad also owned slaves? In fact, he was a slave trader himself, and in the Quran, he openly endorses a master's right to sex with his slaves. For this reason, we are starting a petition to ban the wearing of the hijab on campus. Pavlik? Pavlik objects to the presence of the classics on the curriculum because...
Whose classics are they? Because they're not mine.
You know what, Pavlik? Let's set aside the fact that you are clearly mostly genetically European and talk about your classics. What epics from sub-Saharan Africa should we be studying? What opuses were the great literary minds of your African ancestors creating while Homer was composing his epics? You are in a state of ideological possession if your first thought when considering the value of a literary work is, how closely do the author's immutable characteristics resemble my own? How about this, Pavlik? Start a book club. I doubt you've ever read a book, so here are some suggestions. Page Boy by Elliot Page. My Time Among the Whites by Janine Capo-Crusay. This Book is Gay by Juno Dawson. Instead of trying to shove your woke dogma down students' throats, bring your curriculum to the free market of ideas, let the students choose for themselves, then you will see how popular your ideas truly are. Imogen Gay points out that men get away with everything.
Let men get away with this sort of behavior, then they'll get away with everything. We already do.
Which is why 95% of the US prison population is male. A lanky male feminist type signs Pavlik's petition in an attempt to impress Imogen Gay. Chad walks in and Pavlik doesn't like Chad because he's straight, white and male, so Pavlik throws water in Chad's face. Now, ordinarily, this would be considered assault, but this is a brown woman assaulting a white man, and when a brown woman assaults a white man,
that means that it is not illegal.
Imogen Gay Poots walks in on a frat boy trying to force himself on, and indeed into, her friend. Fortunately, she brings an end to the encounter. Frat boy is openly seething about his nefarious plans being foiled by this interfering cockblock.
You bitches are all the same. You act like you want it, but you're all a bunch of teases.
Toxic masculinity.
Imogen and her friends perform a song in which they publicly accuse a member of the frat house of date Imogen.
I didn't lead you on for goodness sake. I couldn't have 'cause I wasn't awake.
Ironically, the movie never actually presents any evidence of Imogen's accusation. There are no witnesses to the event and no physical evidence. There are a few flashbacks which indicate that Imogen was drunk or high the night of the sexual encounter, but that's all. From the viewer's perspective, Imogen can quite easily be regarded as an unreliable narrator. None of this even occurs to the director. In her mind, a woman has made an accusation and she must be believed. No evidence necessary. Believe all women. Right, Amber?
I fucking was hitting you.
Imogen's housemate is killed. Imogen goes to campus security to report her missing, but the lazy bastard security guard is more interested in his sandwich.
We need more than feelings in this business.
Imogen does eventually manage to drag his lazy ass to her friend's place, but the guard doesn't go inside and finds an excuse to give up looking. I couldn't be bothered checking to recall his excuse. Professor XY shows up to intimidate Imogen and explain that the odd struggle snuggle on campus is nothing more than the natural expression of young men.
Boys will be, well, you know.
Pavlik explains the importance of perpetuating the campus hysteria.
Thought the point of calling out frat boy rape culture was to inspire women.
Chad, who is seeing one of Imogen's friends, interrupts the girl's argument to commit wrongthink.
Not all men have power.
Did you just not all men me? Did you just...
Not all men are rapists, Chris, okay?
A male character in a feminist movie committing wrongthink. I wonder what will happen to him.
Show yourself, coward! This is a man!
The rest of the movie is a combination of atrocious stalker scenes. It even does the killer walking slowly toward his prey cliche, pathetic girl boss fight choreography, and the big metaphor at the end intended to communicate that frat houses turn men toxic and send that toxicity out into the world to perpetuate the patriarchy. This is absolutely a case of feminism crying out in pain as it stabs society in the back. One of the major causes of the woke era was millennials colonizing corporate America after they had been brainwashed at college. I won't even bother going over the girl boss fight choreography. Instead, here is an amusing video which is quite appropriate given our present topic. After the frat house revealed their ultimate plan of a long march through the institutions, culminating in a re-establishment of patriarchal leadership, based, by the way, one of Imogen's friends reveals herself as a collaborator.
Aren't you tired of fighting against your true nature, right? It's so much easier this way.
You are a traitor!
A woman in a feminist movie committing wrongthink. I wonder what will happen to her.
But I did everything that I was supposed to.
That lanky string of shite who was sniffing round Imogen manages to overcome his trance through the power of, I don't know, melanin, I guess. So he helps Imogen and the sisters overcome the frat boys. Imogen breaks the bust, freeing the pledges from their possession. Then she locks the now harmless boys inside the frat house, so they'll all burn to death in agony and terror. In the final shot, Imogen soaks in the cathartic sight of young, innocent men burning to death. Black Christmas received awful reviews. 41% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, 31% from audiences. It has 1.9 on Metacritic. The movie was such an appalling pile of trash that even left-wing media refused to rally to it. The Guardian review read, "Woke slasher remake is an unholy, unscary mess. It's quick, cheap-looking, and entirely devoid of suspense, atmosphere, and dramatic tension. So inept at times that it makes 2006's questionable remake suddenly seem like a misremembered masterwork." Even Chris Stuckman, a former film critic, hated Black Christmas.
This is like some 1980s Mystery Science Theater 3000 shit. This is satire. It's gotta fucking be. If it's not, this is truly fucking embarrassing. I think this movie fails completely. I'm gonna give Black Christmas an F.
Black Christmas made $18.5 million at the box office, far less than Blumhouse Productions had projected.
Oh my black sesame ube pandan ice botanical cardamom, organic honey caramel, miso amped up half-free trade lavender soy blend collagenic cold foam tonic salted matcha cold strawberry foam stone roast, Java bean hojicha latte bro. Have you ever even heard of the concept of allegory? Okay, let's unpack this. Black Christmas isn't so much a narrative meant to be understood in a literal sense as it is an artistic endeavor that seeks to hold space for college essay survivors. Professor XY is clearly a metaphor for epistemic violence, but also an accurate representation of how cis-white campus culture refuses to center voices that seek to subvert patriarchal norms. Pavlik can be abrasive, but her attempt to impose her will on the status quo is admirable, and I'm here for it. Bro, this hecking video is literally a not even like low-key hard swipe left. I like totally don't even got you fam. As for the rest of this video bro, tell me you're sexist without telling me you're sexist. Classical narcissistic behavior. How about try not to be such a hecking cockwomble for 5 minutes and center voices for menstruating people instead of trying to shout them down.
Non-playable sheep. I'm not even going to attempt to decipher what you just said, but please stop reading Reddit.
And may all your Christmases be white.
Another popular subscriber request for this video was The Incredibles 2. The Incredibles 2 is The Force Awakens of Pixar, a beat-for-beat remake of the original, which replaces the original male lead with a female lead. The Incredibles 2 is not only disgraceful, it's disgusting. Before I get into the extensive plagiarism Disney commits in The Incredibles 2, I want to focus on one aspect of this movie which encapsulates how the movie updates The Incredibles for a modern audience. The character designs of the new superheroes. The new design philosophy is based on a reframing of superheroes as a marginalized identity group. In the original, superheroes were normal individuals with exceptional abilities. In the update for a modern audience, the superheroes are just freaks, transvestites with superpowers. These losers look like 5 randomers from a mall, smothered themselves in glue, and dived into a skip filled with trash from a pride parade. Disney emphasized the point that these super freaks are a stand-in for marginalized groups.
I felt like an outcast before, but now...
The super freaks are Supermam.
It is ma'am.
Is Supermam a man or a ma'am? You're not supposed to know. They has enormous breasts, could be boobs, could be moobs. Their face and hairstyle has been designed to look as androgynous as possible. When they is in action, they fights like a man, and the name they has given themselves,
I am called Rick,
does not denote gender, as for example Elastigirl or Mr. Incredible does. It's also obvious that the designers of Supermam had body positivity in mind when they created them. Supermam is the worst character design I have come across since Custodes Diabetes from Concord. Elliot Rage. He's so nondescript and boring that I have no idea what his power is, and I finished rewatching the movie 20 minutes ago. Yes, I saw this vile trash in cinema, and I hated it then too. Owlman. That's it. He's just an owl. Notice though that his superpower defines him. His superpower isn't something he has, it's who he is. Owlman. Just some Owlman in a knockoff Mr. Incredible suit. What an exceptionally creative design. Obviously, Disney need a black guy in there, so the task of existing while black goes to To-Ken. To-Ken's power is that he's a superhero. Seriously, if you typed draw a generic superhero into an AI image generator, it would spew out some approximation of To-Ken. Of the super freaks, the movie focuses most on Transceptional. She is clearly female, but the designers have made her as flat as possible and given her hideous neon blue lopsided hair. Bright neon coloured hair is often used by feminists and transsexuals as a visual signal of obedience to establishment ideology. Transceptional speaks in millennial.
I just want to thank you for being you. And I just totally.
The super freaks are in the movie primarily as an expression of political ideas. They have next to no function in the plot. Screenslaver uses them as goons after she hypnotizes them with her Apple Vision proggles, and Transceptional helps Elastigirl out a little in the final boss fight. And that's it. The impression I got watching The Incredibles 2 is that Brad Bird finished the script, then Disney told him to insert the super freaks for merchandising, woke messaging, and spin-off potential. Dramatically, the movie would be better off without the super freaks. They bloat the cast and runtime and make the real superheroes feel a little less special, because as Syndrome warned us,
and when everyone's super, no one will be.
Seeing Frozone beaten by this gaggle of gimps was insulting. The true Frozone, the guy from the first movie, would have wiped this band of bitches out in seconds. The villain this time round is, of course, a woman because girl power. Screenslaver is an atrocious villain. Her plan is totally illogical. She wants to rekindle public support for superhero vigilantism in order to make superheroes legal again, but her true intention is to destroy public support for superheroes so that superheroes will be illegal.
You're gonna help me make supers illegal forever.
They're already illegal, you brain-dead gobshite! In addition to her nonsensical plan, Screenslaver is impressively stupid. She gets a pair of Apple Vision proggles on Elastigirl, intending to send Elastigirl to the Superhero Legalization Summit and trash the place on live TV. Okay, great. Elastigirl and the Super Freaks are in your possession. The summit is set, everything is in place. Well done, checkmate in one, you can't lose. But instead of just taking the win, Screenslaver sabotages herself. She alerts Mr. Incredible to tell him that Helen is in trouble so that he'll show up and Elastigirl can proggle him. Screenslaver also sends the Super Freaks to capture Dash, Violet and Frozone. Why would she do any of this? She takes a simple plan that can't fail and sabotages it into a complex plan that can fail in many ways. After she proggles Elastigirl, all Screenslaver has to do to win is nothing. Screenslaver's motivation is a complete mess. She starts out as a Luddite who wants to alert people to the dangers of media and entertainment indoctrination, which is actually very meta. This is a bit milquetoast, but not bad as far as villain motivation goes. But after the shocking reveal that Sol Badwoman is the true Screenslaver, we learn that her true motivation is to make superheroes somehow more illegal because she blames superheroes for her father's death. In the original movie, Syndrome is motivated to kill all superheroes for two reasons. One practical, one personal. The practical reason is that he needs superheroes gone so that none of them can interfere in his hero hoaxes, so he will be the only hero the public can look up to. The personal reason is that Mr. Incredible rejected him when he was a boy, and he has harbored a growing resentment ever since. In the remake, Screenslaver has no practical reason for her actions. Superheroes are already illegal. Her personal grievance should motivate her to kill superheroes, but she doesn't go that far. She just wants them to be unpopular and illegal, which they already are. Especially after Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone are blamed for making the Underminer attack worse by interfering. Screenslaver's goal is illogical. Her actions are self-defeating and her motivation is broken. Screenslaver is a truly appalling villain. On a character level, Sol Badwoman is a factory line manager drone that the manufacturers forgot to upload a personality into. An absolute bread sandwich of a character. When the movie needs her to be sweet, she's sweet. When it needs her to be cruel, she's cruel. When it needs her to be sadistic, she's sadistic. Her brother, Saul Goodman, is boisterous and optimistic. A naive good guy. Sol Badwoman is a pile of vanilla sludge that changes shape to conform to the scene. No, it's not because the character is being deceptive, it's because the character has no core identity. The Incredibles 2 copies almost exactly the plot of The Incredibles. The only major difference is that Helen is out superheroing and Bob is at home with the kids. I will now do a side-by-side comparison showing that The Incredibles 2 is an update for a modern audience version of The Incredibles. The movie opens with a big action sequence in which a villain robs a bank. Mr. Incredible tries and fails to stop the villain, but does prevent a greater disaster. In the original, he saves Buddy's life. In the remake, he stops a drill from smashing into a building. Despite the heroics, there is major PR fallout from the event, leading to PR damage for superheroes. The family now has no major breadwinner, but seemingly out of nowhere, salvation arrives in the form of a business card, an offer from a mysterious organization to come work for us as a superhero. Helen goes to work for them, Bob stays at home with the kids. Helen wins her first major action as a superhero in a big set piece, which we later discover was all a setup. Bob is experiencing difficulties with Jack Jack and goes to Edna. She makes a supersuit for Jack Jack and gives a presentation for the audience. Another major action sequence leads to Helen doing some investigating. She discovers that not all is what it seems. After examining some video footage, she realizes that treachery is afoot. But before she knows it, she has been captured. Her senses have fled. She is powerless within the villain's clutches. She wakes up, determined to escape, but it's futile. The villain does a monologue over the course of which she explains her evil plan and how her villain origin story began as a result of childhood trauma. Bob is alerted to the fact that something is wrong, so he goes to rescue Helen, but Bob is captured. Helen and Bob are freed by one of their children's superpowers. After a scuffle with the guards, our heroes go to confront the Screenslaver, but she escapes in a jet plane, bringing a hostage with her. Mr. Incredible, Frozone, Violet, and Dash work together to stop a major disaster from engulfing the city. Screenslaver's hostage escapes and the plane is damaged and starts going down, causing the ultimate downfall of the villain. People like superheroes again. Violet attracts romantic attention from that boy, but look, a crime is in progress. Our heroes don their suits and head off to save the day again. Cue the credits with the comic book visuals and retro modern jazz band music. Every single major plot element and character in The Incredibles 2 is copied from The Incredibles. Helen is Bob, Bob is Helen, Sol Badwoman is Syndrome, Saul Goodman is Syndrome's girlfriend who falls out with his sister and eventually joins the good guys. The Incredibles 2 is just as much a plagiarism as Disney's abominable live-action remakes. The Incredibles 2 isn't a sequel, it's a reboot of the franchise that remakes the original, but this time the male lead is swapped out for a female lead because...
Girl power!
The Incredibles 2 is a typical Disney slop remake in the same intestine as Mulan 2020. As in Mulan 2020, a man cannot defeat a woman. Elastigirl is proggled by Screenslaver. When Elastigirl ambushes Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl overcomes him. Mr. Incredible is permitted to assist in overcoming Supermam because Supermam is a non-binary transvestite, but Mr. Incredible is not permitted to defeat them himself. Elastigirl pulls the proggles off Transceptional. At the end, it is Elastigirl and only Elastigirl who defeats Screenslaver, though she does receive some help from Transceptional in bringing a captive Screenslaver safely to ground. Here is a fact about The Incredibles 2 which shows how castrated, lame, and gay this movie is. Over the course of the movie, Mr. Incredible does not take down a single bad guy. He fails to capture the Underminer, then spends an hour and a half doing housework, gets proggled by his wife, gets unproggled by his wife. He does unproggle Supermam, but of course needs help from his wife. His sole moment of glory is unproggling Toucan. Fans of The Incredibles wanted a real sequel. One in which the Incredibles take on the bad guys as a single, united family. What we got instead was a feminist bag of shite in which Elastigirlboss gets 90% of the action and the rest of the family get to help out a little at the end. The Incredibles 2 is arguably the most despised Pixar movie, and it absolutely deserves the hate. There are 2 lines of dialogue in The Incredibles 2 that feel like they were inserted into a random character's mouth at the insistence of a woke activist on some Disney committee somewhere along the assembly line while this movie was being manufactured. Here's the first.
And it's not like I don't like strong girls. I'm pretty secure, manhood-wise.
In the history of humanity, no 15-year-old boy ever looked at a middle-aged man and said the words, "It's not like I don't like strong girls, I'm pretty secure manhood-wise." That is one of the most horrific clankers I have ever come across in my considerable studies of woke propaganda. Here's the second line.
Don't wait for permission. Assert yourself and impose your will on the status quo.
Now where have I heard that line before?
You disrupt the status quo and they are fucking on you.
Helen Parr would never say that. Those words are straight out of a feminist blog post. These are the words of a villain. To impose one's will on the status quo is to disregard the democratic process and popular opinion. Let's say I want smoking indoors legalized. I don't feel like introducing a bill in Parliament or proposing a referendum, so you know what I do? I impose my will on the status quo. I march into the nearest hospital, light up a cigarette, and blow a lungful of delicious carcinogens into the face of the first patriarchal oppressor who dares challenge me. Speaking of carcinogens, Incredibles 3 is scheduled for release in summer 2028. This was inevitable. The Incredibles 2 was appalling, but it was also a smash hit. It made $1,243 million on a budget of $200 million. I mentioned earlier that The Incredibles 2 was the Force Awakens of Pixar. I meant that in more ways than one. Yes, it's a vapid feminist remake of the original, but the reaction to the movie was also quite similar. Fans responded positively when the movie first came out, but a major backlash came later when viewers realised how awful the movie was. I hated The Incredibles 2 from the moment the credits rolled. Me and my wife are both big fans of The Incredibles. I have the poster on my study wall next to 2 other perfect movies. When we left the theatre after seeing The Incredibles 2, we were both disgusted. Video titles on YouTube are usually hyperbolic. Clickbait titles, a bit of exaggeration is expected in a YouTube video title, but the title of this video, The Nightmare World of Feminist Film, is totally sincere. The societal vision set forth in these movies is a nightmare world. A world in which 13-year-old children are abandoned by their mothers, left to suffer at the hands of an abusive father. Mothers fantasize about murdering their daughters. Male sexuality is pathologized. Female deceit is glorified. Murder is justified. Emotional incontinence is held up as a virtue. Any happiness that exists between a man and a woman is quickly and spitefully eradicated. The greatest hero of his age is reduced to a housewife who struggles to defeat an amorphous blob in a gimp suit. Men regarded as toxic by feminism are treated as villains. Men who have bent the knee to feminism are treated like slaves, spat upon, and despised for their obsequious surrender. History is rewritten to glorify genocidal slavers, and torture and maiming of men is treated as light entertainment. Entire civilizations are retroactively altered to accommodate the ego of an all-powerful girl boss. Endless female hedonism is portrayed as the pinnacle of human existence. The burning to death of innocent young men is savoured. The world feminism envisages is a place of forever misery, a purgatorial matriarchy from which hell would be a relief. At least in hell, a man is punished for his sins. In the feminist utopia, he is punished for his existence.
You know what the worst mistake in human history was? Anyone? It's a little controversial. The worst mistake in human history was?
On August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment was officially incorporated into the U.S. Constitution.